na tayo, sir, ha? Wala na, nag-jet lag. Medyo jet lag ako, so kung may mga nonsense ako sasabihin, bahala ka na mag-ayos sa akin, ha?
Alam ko, nasa Patagonia ka na.
Ayun.
Nasa Patagonia ka, dahil nawawala ka eh. Sabi ko,
Oh.
tapan siguro yun.
Ang hirap din kasi iba yung time, time zones. Eh, for the first time, pag nandun ako, umaga na ako natutulog, medyo maayos-ayos na ako sa buhay. Tuloy, hindi ko na nakabutan yung mga time zone nyo. Sabi ko, bakit sa Pilipinas lang ako medyo, puyat parati. Pag nasa ibang bansa, social na ako, natutulog na ako ng maaga, gising na maaga, breakfast, Waldo.
So, ako pa rin? Malamig pa rin? Malamig?
Pero masarap. Natan nga ako kasi yung sun malakas, tapos malamig. May parang bagyo ang dating.
Unusual winter daw sila eh.
Oh, puro unusual. Bati Japan.
Global warming talaga.
Bati Japan, pare, ang init, tapos biglang nag-snow. Like, oh my God, this is scary. Tapos meron ng may cherry blossoms na. February pa lang. Sa Washington DC, yung mga binigay ng mga Hapon, di ba, gift sa US noong 1911. Ngayon pa lang, nandun na.
Spring pa dapat yun.
Kaya nga nakakatakot, di ba? Parang, ewan ko, bala. O pag-usapan natin, marami tayong pag-usapan.
1.7 na tayo eh. Yung ating nalampasan na yung 1.5 na target eh. So it's going into the dangerous 2%.
Oh, 2%. Wala. Good luck sa...
yung ice caps yan.
Good
Pag
luck.
2%.
I think we need a separate episode soon, Sir Ronald, sa sa climate change. Kasi naranasan ko na talaga siya kasi ako, di ba, Greenland ako, ang init. I mean, init by their standard, -10 is mainit.
May mga damo na,
Wala nakakatakot. Tapos nag-snow, tapos ang init sa Japan. Tapos ngayon, spring na agad, February pa lang, may mga cherry blossom. So, kaya let's live good. Let's enjoy it while it lasts. Ganun na lang ang natin. Okay, ito. Ay, wait lang. Masyado tayo nag-enjoy na siguro tuloy recording natin. Ito. Okay. Alright, everyone! Welcome back to the latest episode of R&R. Mukhang 1 week tayo hindi nag-catch up, ha? First time ever, Sir Ronald.
Big R and the small R.
Oo, medyo naging longing lovers na tayo. Mga ganun-ganun si Ronald sa full moon nung isang gabi, di ba? Habang naglalakot ako ng full moon, inisip, ano kayang ginagawa ni Ronald Llamas? Sino na naman kayang in-interview siya? Na hindi ako. Ganon.
Good boy ako.
Good boy ka. Yung algorithm ko sa YouTube, lumalabas lahat ng mga interviews mo. Sabi ko, busy talaga siya. Hindi na tayo naalala. Hindi man lang nagparamdam. Ito si Sir Ronald Llamas. Ito.
Iniisip ko, you're somewhere there in the Arctic.
I know. Pero grabe, nakakatakot ng mga winters ngayon. Ang init, biglang cherry blossom na agad. February pa lang doon sa Washington DC. Parang wow, man. Things are looking crazy. But before we talk about climate change and mga existential issues, pag-usapan natin itong mga, well, in a way, existential issue rin sa atin mga Pilipino. How was your Edsa celebration day?
Compared to last year, ang daming activities ngayon, starting Thursday
Pakinggan ng bag na maliit.
hanggang Sunday, ang daming
Yung
mga
bag na,
activities sa Edsa Shrine.
Yung sa baba, backpack.
Yung climax niya was the concert
Please, thank you.
sa People Power Monument last Sunday night. Sinintay nila yung 9:06 p.m. yung umalis si McCoy papuntang Hawaii. So, doon tapos.
Wait lang. Oo nga pala na may timing na ganun. Sorry, I mean, di ako nag-attend recently. Yeah, okay. Thank you for that. Yeah.
Tapos nung umaga na Sunday, merong bike rally. Nandun si ex-Senator Rene Saguisag sa wheelchair niya.
Right.
Dahil hindi na siya makalakad eh.
Ayaw nga pala, si Sir Saguisag.
200-300 bikers, nandun, masaya. Ako, nanonood lang ako, nagkakape. Hindi na ako nagbabike. Tapos nung hapon, nagkaroon ng mass uli sa Edsa Shrine, si CBCP President Bishop Ambo David. Tapos nung gabi naman, tapos nationwide siya. Nationwide, nakita ko sa Isabela, may rally, sa Dumaguete, sa Siquijor, sa Cebu, sa Tagum, Davao, sa Iloilo, sa Bacolod, meron sa Zamboanga. So nationwide yung unlike last year. So mukhang na-provoke sila dun sa
Kailan? Unlike last year, nadagdagan Davao bigla. Yung ba yung sinasabi mo dyan?
Tagum Davao, sa Tagum Davao.
Okay,
No,
okay.
may rally.
Okay.
Mukhang na-provoke sila nung tinanggal yung EDSA sa holiday at dun sa EDSA Pueraan. No?
Yes.
At of course, yung Chacha. Yung message kasi, anti-Chacha. Yung
Right.
lahat ng mga rally. Pero ang mahalaga, yung simbahan, all out. No, all out yung
Right.
simbahan. Official yung pagsama ng Catholic Bishops' Conference of the Philippines. Tapos no less than the President ay kasama, si Bishop Ambo David. So marami activities, nationwide yung activities at all out yung simbahan. Tapos medyo sumabay yung mga idol mo, yung mga Duterte sa Cebu, prayer rally without the prayer. At
Rally without the people. Kasi konti lang nag-attend.
tapos binago nila yung kanilang message. Nag-aapan sila ngayon na si Digong pro-BBM, pro-Chacha. No? Wala daw mistake si BBM, kaya he's supporting him. No? After nung Davao rally na binato niya lahat. No?
Yeah.
Binato niya lahat. Kahit yung Inidoro, binato niya kay BBM. Nung Sunday, ang bait-bait niya. No? So, how can you trust these guys? No? nakailang
Telling you,
something
Ronald, mga trapo, mga survivors mga yan. Tingnan mo si Enrile, di ba? Kaya sabi ko sa iyo, itong bardagulan nila, mahabang usapan to kasi they're gonna drag this Ginawa nilang Netflix series tong walang yung drama nila ngayon. So,
pero si BBM naman ay hindi naman ganun kabobo para i-take ito at face value, di ba?
yun nga, slow burn to. Medyo slow burn strategy silang pareho. So, let's see ano yung ano yung parang Chinese style ba yun? Death by 1,000 cuts. Parang ganun yata ang gagawin nila sa isa't isa. Pero eto, before tayo pupunta ito sa, let's be honest, let's call it for what it is. Duterte appropriation of the EDSA for their own agenda against Marcos and their own drama. Pag-usapan natin itong spirit of EDSA. I mean, Ronald, you know EDSA better than me. I was born after EDSA. And you have attended more events related to EDSA than me. How are things from Duterte era to Marcos Jr. era? Is the EDSA spirit stronger? Is it weaker? I mean, how do you compare it? What is your basis? Anong sense mo dito? Or especially with Gen Z, 70-80% voting for BBM based on sa Pulse Asia survey na nakita natin, I think was it March? I think March 2022. Like, how do we keep the EDSA spirit going and relevant for the new generation? I think millennials, medyo okay pa kami. Pero yung Gen Z na mga bata, how do we keep it relevant for them? I mean, this is a serious topic, Ronald. Kasi ito historical memory. In fact, on the way to the Philippines, I watched this movie. I really suggest everyone watch it. Argentina, 1985. This is the trial of the generals involved in extrajudicial killings and the desaparecidos. So they made a public trial of the generals and brought in yung mga biktima, ng desaparecidos, yung extrajudicial
Kanya
killing.
sa Argentina?
It's Argentina movie. Last year lang lumabas. Amazon Studio yan. Sa Amazon yan. Ang ganda. Nandun yan sa airlines kanina. Ang ganda.
Ano mo sa akin yung title?
Oo, napaiyak ako doon. Ang ganda niya talaga. Grabe ng movie na yan. So, it's a story of the prosecutor. Simpleng taong prosecutor. Kasi no one wants to do it Lahat na natakot to go after the admirals and generals. So, itong kawawang prosecutor ang pinili nila. Wala siyang choice. So, he went after the military and so no one wanted to join him. So what he did was, kasi takot lahat military babanggaan mo. Di ba, remember, the military gave up power but they were still there. So what happened is he had to hire kids. As in literally kids fresh from college na walang anything to lose. And what they did is they went all around Argentina kasi ang argument nila is to establish command responsibility. To establish command responsibility legally, you have to show there's a systematic violation of human rights. So they had to go all around the country, gather 8,000 testimonies, bring over the people to establish na hindi ito mga isolated cases na nanlaban lang or collateral damage. No, this was a systematic violation. There's a very beautiful quote there, sabi niya, sadism is not political ideology, right? This was not about saving the nation. Kasi usually ito yung mga drug war. Ganun. So, ang dami niyang mga parallels sa akin ng Philippine martial law. Pero also yung kay Digong. So, and you could see dun sa movie na yan, but yung mga medyo fascista na mga middle class, some of them were shocked into conscience nung na-televise yung story and then nagpalak. It's very drama. I really suggest guys to at least check the trailer. So I was very
Yeah.
moved by that movie and all. So then I wonder like kamusta naman sa Pilipinas in terms of the spirit of Edsa. Of course things are not 100% good. But give us the story. Is there something we're missing here? Is the spirit gonna come back? What are the ways to keep the spirit stronger?
Well, it's beginning to. Halimbawa, sabi ko nga kanina, for the first time, nationwide yung mga activities, kahit hindi sila kasing laki nung last election, 2022, yung mga rally ng Pink. At least may nabubuo uli. No? May nabubuo uli. Nung 6 years kasi ni Digong, halos nawala yung EDSA. Diba? Na-demonize yan. Tapos ina-atake yan all over the place. Nung panahon ni BBM, nung first year niya, nagbigay siya ng nominal statement,
Right.
the spirit of EDSA, tapos nagpadala siya ng bulaklak sa People Power Monument, nag-away silang magkapatid.
The whole
Si Amy,
unity, ek.
nagalit si Amy, bakit niya nire-recognize yung EDSA? At bakit
Right.
naglabas siya ng statement? At bakit naglabas siya padala siya ng mga bulaklak, no? Ngayon medyo umatras siya, no? Dineclare niya na hindi na non-working holiday ang EDSA.
Yeah.
Ikalawa, yung message na nung isang araw ay kailangan pag-aralang maigi yung history, no? Yung slant niyan ay parang tignan yung Marcos dictatorship at yung pagkabagsak sa Marcos dictatorship in a different light. No, not the EDSA perspective.
The other side of history. Mga charot na ganyan.
Tapos ironically, si Sara nagsalita na praising EDSA, no? After niya banatan nung panahon ng pinantatay. Tapos sabi niya dapat ipasok sa curriculum ng DepEd yung EDSA. Pero kanina
Wait lang, ngayon lang nila naisip yan. Ilang taon na mga Duterte in power.
Pero kanina pinawi.
Ibang klase,
Magkamali daw na pinost yun sa website ni Vice President. So, just a few hours, no, binawi uli, kagad. No? So, hindi naman sila pwede ma-misquote. Or ma-taken out of context dahil
statement
nila.
exactly, yeah. It's
Statement
crystal
nila.
clear, yeah.
Yan yung nangyayari. Pero sabi ko nga doon sa isang interview kahapon kay Terry Ridon sa teleserye at
Radyo.
teleserbisyo,
Oo.
sabi ko sinusubukan i-co-op yung messages nung traditional opposition nito bagong opposition, no? Halimbawa si Sandra Cam praising Liberal Party President Edsa Lagman, yung kanyang anti-chacha position, no? Bloggers ng mga pro-Duterte, no? Praising yung call ni Senator Hontiveros na mag-drug test pareho si BBM at saka si Digong, no? So, tapos ito nga, yung statement ni Sara about EDSA. So, pinapalabas nila na magkakampi yung bagong oposisyon at saka yung dating oposisyon, lalo na sa positioning sa anti-chacha, no? Pero nakagulo itong positioning ni Digong last Sunday sa Cebu na pala siya, okay na siya.
Pero Ronald, magulo lang talaga si Digong kahit anong position. Magulo lang talaga siya.
Pero imagine mo yung mga vloggers nila, imagine mo yung talking heads nila. Like last January.
Nagagaya siya.
Before the Davao rally, ay pinuri rin niya si BBM at sabi niya
Correct.
walang pulburon video, walang kinalaman si BBM sa ICC, no? Tapos comfortable siya kay BBM. Inulit niya uli ngayon. Anong Sunday? Comfortable siya kay BBM at napaka-dignified daw ni BBM. Although it's a big non-sequitur. No? Ano naman kinalaman ng pagiging dignified?
Ayun na naman. Dignified para drug addict, parang ganun bang gusto sabihin niya. Ang labo talaga ng mga to. Yeah.
Tapos sabi pa niya na walang mistake si BBM kaya nagpapatuloy yung kanyang suporta kay BBM. Parang mali yung nagpapatuloy yung kanyang suporta. No? So,
ito ba yung para mga military withdrawing support, we restore our support? Labo.
Pero nung last week, sinubukan ko i-deconstruct yung EDSA. dahil sa TV5, sinubukan ko ipaliwanag na
Yeah.
there are 3 EDSA. No? One is the moment, EDSA as a defining moment, na kinilala hindi lamang sa Pilipinas, kundi around the world. No? Eastern Europe, Latin America, Africa. Tapos yung EDSA as a transition, where,
Right.
sabi ni Gramsci, where the old is not yet born and the old is not yet
The
dead.
young, the young is, I mean, the old order is dying, but the new one is yet to be born. Yes, yeah.
Yes,
Yung
so,
Twilight Zone, ganyan.
Yun
Yeah.
yung transition, no?
Yeah.
Yun yung transition. At saka EDSA as liberal democratic institutions,
Yeah.
na marami din tayong criticism. No? So yun yung, hindi kasi pwedeng i-jumble eh. Hindi mo pwedeng
Correct.
banatan yung EDSA as a failure. Kailangan tignan mo siya as 3 different aspects. The moment, the transition, and the institutions na na-create. Na sabi ko naman, yung institutions are not only mga pro-EDSA forces dahil nandyan si FBR for 6 years, nandyan si ERA for almost 3 years, nandyan si GMA for 9 years, nandyan si Digong for 6 years, nandyan si BBM for almost 2 years. So, pag sinabi mo EDSA institutions, it's not entirely EDSA. No, dahil halo-halo na yan.
Medyo,
Perhaps the framework, the 87 Constitution, was EDSA. But the substance, hindi mo pwede sabihin EDSA yan. No? Mas marami nga yung mga non-EDSA forces yung nandyan. No?
Medyo
So,
what happened there is adulteration of the system. Now, Ron, I want to ask you, there's a reason why I brought up, there's a reason, in fact, yun ang pinanood ko movie ng Argentina 1985. It's not an easy movie to watch. Of course, it's in Spanish language, if you're comfortable or not. At mabilis mag-Espanyol mga Argentina because Italian yung background, marami sa kanila. Now, the reason I ask that is because, you know, dun sa Washington DC, this time I had a little bit more time on my hands, so I really spent more time going to the monuments than usual. And of all the monuments, the one I spend most time in is yung Supreme Court nila sa Washington DC. It's a beautiful monument. It's a gorgeous monument. Twice ako bumalik. Because there's a part there dun sa monument, I think sa likod siya, when you walk, something like, justice is the guardian of liberty. Meaning you cannot have democratic freedom if wala kang functioning justice system. That's my reading of it. And obviously, I don't go to US nowadays praising them kasi alam ko napakasabog yung politika nila kasi it's interesting, you see the symbol of justice overlooking, tas andun yung US Congress na may mga QAnon, may mga ganun. Yeah, alam na natin yan, but just rewind a little bit. That term, no, justice is the guardian of liberty, meaning you cannot really have a functioning democracy, freedom, if wala kang functioning judicial systems.
Definitely.
So don't you think, ang basa ko, this is one of the biggest anomalies with what happened after EDSA. You're absolutely right. EDSA as the moment was really world historical, to use the Hegelian term. But the problem is just the follow through. And one of the, I think, blind spots, and I discussed this with Attorney Jokno, which we'll discuss him in the next episode about the Senate slate of the opposition, is etong tinatawag natin na legal deep state. Etong mga Marcos era judges, si Mendoza, right, yung mga prosecutors ni Marcos Sr. A lot of them just were sticking around. These law firms, networks of law firms, a lot of their sympathizers in the education system. So, if you look at it, napaka-shallow yung na-purge ng EDSA. Because any successful revolution has to have some element of cleanup, right? To put it nicely. And for some reason, one of the most important elements of that cleanup didn't happen, which is the judicial system. Ito ang basa ni Jokno. And I agree to a certain degree because yun nga, inisip ko, what's going on here? What's going on here in terms of bakit hindi binigyan na at sapat na attention considering we're a nation of lawyers? Or baka dahil maraming lawyers na involved sa takot sila mawalan. You get what I'm saying, Ron? Like, for me, it's really, like, how can we have the spirit of EDSA when no one was held accountable for everything that made EDSA happen? Like, it's crazy.
And yung debate namin last Friday doon sa Storycon ni Edwin Gao at ni
right.
Pinagdebatihan namin yan Dahil sabi ko, parang napaka-iksi kasi ng revolutionary government. 1 year. At kasama dun sa 1 year na yan, ay nililinis mo yung 20 years ng Marcos government, no? Including the
malabo
dictatorship.
yan. That's a good
Tapos
point.
gumagawa ka ng bagong konstitusyon. Dahil hindi mo pwedeng gamitin yung old constitution, yung martial law constitution. At hindi yan madaling gawin. Hindi yan kayang gawin in a few months. Tapos 1 year lang yung revolutionary period mo. Kaya yung debate namin, sabi ko, baka iba yung nangyari kung ginawang 2 years. Baka nakapagpakulong ka, no, nakapag-incarcerate ka,
interesting
ng mga
time.
talagang human rights violators, torturers, no, yung mga warlords na disband mo talaga. Ano, hindi mo talaga na-disband eh. Pinalitan mo yung mga local officials.
Yeah.
Pero yung kanilang machinery was intact, no? So, sabi naman ni Patrick ay, di ba, kanya, dictatorial yan? Well, sabi ko, ganoon naman talaga sa revolusyon. No? Kinakailangan mo ng panahon para i-reverse yung lalo na kung dictatorship yung pinalitan mo. Dahil you cannot reverse that overnight. At kasama dyan, yung sinasabi mo, yung justice system, yung mga judges na talagang integrated dun sa Marcos dictatorship. Right. At marami ay mga corrupt, no, in the pay ng mga warlords, ng mga dynasties. So, ang dami mong gagawin. At ang natapos mo lang dun sa revolutionary government was the constitution, no? And after that, nagkaroon ka lang 11 coup d'etat. 11 in 2 years.
Yeah, that was a
87
good
to 89.
discussion we had on the coup d'etats, yeah.
So parang looking back, yun ang pinagdebatihan namin, baka kinakailangan na nag-extend ka ng konti. 2 years of a revolutionary government is not long. No, it's not long. It's not the Bolsheviks, no? It's not, di ba?
Well, medyo forever yun. Medyo sana all yung nangyari sa kanila. No. I see where Patrick is coming from. Because what we saw in France, the French model, di ba, is reign of terror, Napoleon. Essentially like a quarter of a century of transition, right? Like from 1870s all the way to end of Napoleonic Wars. That was a transition phase, di ba? And then you can argue that actually it's all the way to late 19th century, but we can have a debate about that. But those revolutions turned very ugly. My reign of terror, my revolutionary courts na people were just court-martial and guillotine. We saw a version of that in Russia, in Romania, in China. I can go on and on. I don't think that's what we wanted. Kaya nga sabi ko,
ano nangyari sa atin is the opposite, no?
The opposite. Kaya nga sabi ko sana something more like Argentina, which is somewhere in the middle. Hindi sila nagkaroon ng crazy reign of terror and purging and killing military. May pacted transition, meaning they had to negotiate with the generals to give up the power, transition to civilian government, and then slowly go back and do something about it. Or at least the South African model of Truth and Reconciliation Commission. 'Di ba? Ang ginawa ni Mandela, 'di ba? There was a conciliation, truth and reconciliation kung saan at least pina-confess nila yung mga white Africans na nag-engage in torture and violence, and then ma-reconciliation. Now, of course, some people will say, sana,
problema,
none of that happened eh. None of that happened.
The military, no, after the fall of the dictatorship, is basically divided into two. No? The Marcos loyalists, no, na ilalagaan ni Marcos, the Fabian Bear machinery, and then the RAM, which was trying to bring down Marcos,
right,
but who wanted to create a military junta. So itong dalawa, so wala kang wala ka pang tao sa loob ng military. It was a people's uprising, no, triggered by a mutiny, which doesn't want to bring back the post-Marcos, the pre-Marcos democratic arrangement. Ang balak nila was a military junta. So, napaka-crucial ng coercive arm of the state doon sa transition. Kaya yung sinasabi kong delicate transition, 11 coup d'etat, no, in 2 years. No? Kasama dyan yung God Save the Queen, di ba? Dahil very popular si Cory sa, hindi lamang sa Pilipinas, kundi around the world, pinapalabas nila that they're trying to save the Queen from the communists. Ganun yung political narrative noon, no, nung unang mga coup d'etat. So ang hirap eh, no. Siguro kung meron kang additional year, it's just 1 year. Perhaps ay nakaka-create ka ng mga supporters within the military. No, ang ginawa mo, yung head ng mga mutineers, si Enrile, ginawa mong defense chief who organized the coup against the government.
Baka Machiavellian move yan, keep your enemies closer, except you're not ready for your enemy yet, right? They're too strong.
But it's Cory and some do-gooders, some civil society, no, etc. So hindi ganun ka-consolidated yung 1 year mo, no?
Yeah.
Kaya nga sinasabi ko, if naging 2 years yan, baka mas marami kang nagawa. Ni wala ka na pakulong eh. Di ba, ang dami mong sinasabi
Yun nga,
sinasabi
it was
mong
too
dami
nice. Yeah.
killings.
Yeah.
Pero wala ka na pakulong. At pinabalik mo yung mga Marcoses a few years later, 1991. Nakabalik sila and they almost won dun sa first presidential election. Diba?
If not for Danding.
1992.
If not for
Diba?
Danding running. If,
Yeah,
panalo si Imelda. Yeah.
Tapos kaagad yung mo, yung EDSA mo, no? So, and starting there, nagbalikan na yung mga cronies, nagbalikan na yung mga warlords, nagbalikan na yung mga Marcos supporters. They changed colors. They changed political parties. Most of them joined the Lakas o LDP, no?
Right.
LDP. At tinanggap naman sila ng LDP, no? And the rest is history, no? Yun yung nangyari, no? Dahil wala ka man lang naparusahan. So
in a sense, there was no history.
Sabi pala na, Richard, part nung 38 years ng liberal democratic institutions, no, are not really the EDSA forces. The EDSA forces disappeared eh. No? Yung most of them, yung natira na overwhelmed ng mga
Nasaan yung
lumang
isang
forces
purple?
na kasama sa KBL.
Yung isa pang purple.
But to change political loyalties.
Yung ganyan na purple na.
Diba? So, pag sinabi mo na yung 38
Yung
years
isa.
ng liberal democratic institutions are all
Then,
EDSA,
nasaan yung isa? You bring the
medyo
other
mali.
one.
Medyo mali. Dahil marami nagbalikan, maraming nagbaliktaran, no? So, hindi ko nga siguro ang pinaka-kundalan diyan, ang pinaka-EDSA forces is FBR. No, sa FBR na nakaaway din ni Cory at saka ni Cardinal Sin nung last 2 years ng kanyang term because of pirma. Tapos si Pinoy. Yun lang talaga yung pwede mong sabihin na in the 38 years after EDSA, yun lang talaga ang pwede mong sabihin na bahagi ng EDSA people power. All the rest weren't eh. No?
I forgot that eh.
ERAP was pro-Marcos.
Yeah.
No? Clearly. Siya mismo inaamin niya. No? Digong, pinalibing si Marcos. GMA ay isang bagong Marcos, almost declared martial law in 2006. Si FBR, bagamat in-endorse ni Cory, 1992, pero nung 1997, 1998, nag-away na sila eh.
Because of Chacha.
Because of Chacha.
Yeah.
So, ilan ang gusto ko sabihin na not to defend the liberal democratic institutions, but part of the rot, no? Part of the problem was that nagbalikan yung mga luma.
Yun nga, like, I want to talk about the second original sin here. I mean, the first original sin was still the martial law, right? But the second original sin is what was done about the legacy of martial law. Beyond that, may term si Slavoj Žižek, yun na Tahrir Square moment. Yung moment of ecstatic revolution. And then the next morning, back to zero. And then the next morning, back to zero, right? You have to have a follow-through. It's the morning after.
And the generals were waiting on the wings, no?
Yeah, exactly.
Then they pounced. They pounced, no?
Kaya nga hindi nag-succeed yung mga Arab revolutions kasi there was no follow-through. There was that Tahrir Square moment of ecstasy, of international coverage. And the next morning, the organizational work was not done. So in a sense, let me ask this question. Balikan natin ulit si Cory. God bless her soul. I mean, I think she had great intentions for the country. I think she was a fundamentally decent, good person. But we're talking about politics here. We're not talking about very, very Machiavelli type. This is about statesmanship. This is not about moral, attributes and all. All that as important as it is. To what degree was this about Cory Aquino overreading her mandate as just a transitional shepherding kind of custodian role? Because my sense is if Ninoy were still around, probably things would have turned different, right? Because Ninoy had a vision, he had the political charisma to bring groups together, he would have the comparative understanding. I'm sure Ninoy would have studied other revolutions.
And he probably has the ruthlessness.
And shrewdness. Yeah, exactly. And you need operators. Yeah, you need a prayer. You're not gonna send some nice civil society guys to take care of the bad generals, and you know what I'm saying. You have to send someone like Ronald Llamas to take care of those things, right? You need someone like Haydar to tell you, ito yung mga case studies, hindi nag-work yan. Let's do Argentina, let's do Korea, let's do whatever. So for some reason, mukhang wala yan, no? Mukhang those are really missing elements, no, Ronald?
Yung gumawa niyan, yung pinaka may kaunti lang ganyan was Nene Pimentel. Yung naging head ng DILG. Siya yung nagtanggal ng mga local officials. Pero si Nene, kumpara sa atin, ay masyadong mabait. Di ba? Mabait si Nene, no? yun yung kulang din kay Nene Pimentel, no? Kaya nabola siya ni Digong eh. No? Nabola siya ni Digong, no? Sabi ni Digong, isusulong ko ang federalism, no? After 1 year, tinapon na niya yung federalism. Kaya naman siya sinuportahan ni Nene Pimentel because of federalism.
Yeah. Ginamit lang, yeah, exactly.
Yun ang bait kasi ni Nene, di ba? Ang bait niya, no? So, yan yung problema. At yun na yung pinaka-political operator ni Cory. Of course, then Peping was there. Pero wala namang posisyon si Peping sa gobyerno, no? Tumulong siya itayo yung LDP, no? Tumulong siya, sinuportahan niya si Mitra, no? etc. Pero wala talagang enforcer si Cory.
Yeah.
Cory was the Edsa moment. Cory was the transition. Nag-survive yung fledgling transition in spite of 11 coup d'etat led by her own defense chief. Di ba? Led by her own defense chief. Kaya yun yung kanyang kwan. Pero afterwards, medyo hindi na yun yung kanyang skill set Hindi na yun yung, wala na siyang wherewithal dun sa 38 years after the transition. No?
Yeah.
Ibang klaseng mga tao ang kailangan dyan no? Para harangan yung mga babalik na mga Marcos loyalists sa local as well as sa national at baguhin yung coercive arm of the state. Alam mo naman, napakahalaga ng coercive arm of the state. No? So, pero...
Yeah, the apparatus of the state, you need really that.
Wala ka talaga mga tao na ipinalit No? It was two aspects of the military. The Marcos loyalists in the military and the rebels who wanted to create their own military junta. So, wala ka, no? Yun yung naging problema.
Yun nga, Ronald. I mean, I think this is the problem we have. This kind of a moralistic approach to politics, whereby everything is good and evil, right? I mean, there's no question that martial law was evil in many ways. But you cannot say evil lang yung one side and puro lang santo yung kabila. Because once you have that kind of approach, you forget the basics of politics, right? Which is, you need operators to get things done. You need to clean up the system. You need to do some ruthless, shrewd, right? House cleaning. You need to build organizations. You need to build the foundations of the state. You need to properly utilize the apparatus of the state. Lahat ng mga minention natin. Where do you think this is coming from, Ronald? Parang ang basa ko dito, parang in a way, there was a vacuum of leadership. I mean, the only one who comes to my mind as a kind of a perfect balance was FVR. And I'm not surprised he was very successful, right? Within few years, wala nang mga coup d'etats, medyo naayos niya. Hindi lang nangyari yung Asian financial crisis. You know, we would be looking back at Ramos' years probably in even better light. And for me, he was still, no offense to your boss, ni Pinoy, but for me, I think FVR, given the circumstances, did very, very good, and perhaps is one of the best presidents we have had.
Yeah, FBR is basically a modernist, no? At may background siya sa military.
And ruthless din siya, shrewd din, exactly.
He can talk with them, di ba?
Yeah.
He can talk with them, no? Sa military. Tapos, meron siyang international perspective
Yeah, malawak.
Meron siyang Philippines 2000,
exactly,
no? He created a political project na medyo consistent do sa ating region. The tiger economies, no?
Yeah.
In a way, in a Philippine dimension, no? Siyempre, may mga errors siya about the PPP, na hanggang ngayon, binabayaran natin yung mga utang.
Yeah, the privatizations kind of went wrong, let's be honest.
Tapos yung mantra niya na deregulation, privatization, no? Liberalization, dapat kinuha niya, hinaluan din niya yun Hinaluan din niya yun ng mga programa na hindi mo totally binukas yung iyong bansa, no? You have to strengthen certain elements of your economy before you can really totally open, no? And deregulate everything and privatize key segments of your economy. So baka doon siya nagkulang yung mga requisites before you do that, no? Pero all in all,
Ronald,
all in
to
all,
defend him even on that one again, not to defend, but to kind of course, I personally argue na ang sama nung sorry, na co-op ng privatization episode ng mga oligarchs. But did he have a choice? Sorry, considering babaksak na yung, I mean, like, bankrupt lahat, yung mga state-owned enterprises, all of these things, di ba? I mean, Marcos ran them into the ground. Cory had no time to even fix it because, you know, the country was a mess throughout her time because a transition period without the cleanup. So Ramos was really, he had to get the trains going, right? And at that point, ang choice lang niya itong mga oligarchs around him who were saying, okay, privatize not. You get what I'm saying? I'm not apologizing for it. I think it really went wrong. And I think he should have embraced the liabilities that brought about it. Parang sana inamin niya. But at the same time, I'm thinking about it. Ang maliit din ang options niya, di ba? Like, by the time he took over, the whole economy was grinding to a halt, di ba? Grabe yung mga blackouts, yung ang bagal ng telepono, di ba? So much of the basic infrastructure was just falling apart. The energy sector, yeah.
Yes, but you have a system with a very strong president, no? Tingin ko ay hindi na maximize yung strength ng presidency to negotiate with
The better position,
with the elites, no? To create an element of a social pact, na parehas namang nagbe-benefit, no? For lack of a better term, yung ginawa ng Korean state sa kanilang mga zaibatsu, no? Or ginawa ng Japanese state with their keiretsu, no? May kaunting gano'n. Hindi ko sinasabing gano'n, no? Dahil iba syempre yung history
medyo
niya,
dictator time pa kasi yan.
pero use the power of the government, the presidency, to negotiate terms. So, gagawin namin ito, pero ito yung kapalit, no? Wag naman onerous terms. Katulad sa energy, it was so onerous.
Yeah, it was bad.
Natin, no? Yung ganun ba na pag gumanda naman ang ating energy framework, hindi lang naman yung gobyerno makikinabang, pati kayo. So, ganun naman yung sinasabi ko. Pero ang problema kasi, FBR, wala naman siya karanasan sa governance, eh. 'Di ba? Nung panahon na 'yan, no? At yung kanyang sidekick si Joe Almonte ay hindi naman talaga ideologue. He's an operator, no? So medyo kinapos din ng konti. Tapos yung Council of Trent ni Cory, hindi naman niya in-integrate yun, eh. Hindi naman niya kinuha yun, eh. So he has to build the government with minimal experience in governance. Dahil kung siya, Philippine Constabulary is the longest serving head of the Philippine Constabulary. Yun yung kanyang skill set. So partly hindi mo rin masisi, pero sinasabi mo rin, this could have been better. Yung negotiations.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with you. I think some of the terms were a bit crazy for the national interest. No, na compromise sila yung national interest. At ito yung mga oligarchs with, you know, really, you know, like alam mo, yung mga like hounds just waiting to get their chunk of the meat, diba? I think we gave them a little bit too much. Actually, you're right about that.
Classic rent seeking.
Yeah, exactly. No, actually, I agree with you na he could have done more in a sense that, remember yung privatization of the telephone sector and parang I was told na at some point he was using even military intelligence to intimidate some of the other oligarchs, right? To come along with some of his infrastructure modernization program. I'm not gonna name names, but you can guess sino mga nire-refer ko dito. So he was ruthless if he needed to be in terms of building the infrastructure.
Dahil ang model niya is the tiger economy.
Yeah.
At malaking element sa tiger economy is a strong government.
Yeah.
Di ba? Even a ruthless government.
Repressive even, yeah.
Taiwan, no? Taiwan, to some extent Malaysia, no? Sa Korea, no? Definitely Singapore, no? You have a strong state na negotiating with the elites. So parang sinasabi ko lang, pwedeng na-strengthen pa yon yung role of government. Dahil ang model mo is tiger economy. You cannot have a tiger economy without a strong president and a strong state, di ba? Not a dictator, but with the strength, no? With the strength of the government in your back. Kaya,
napahaba itong discussion, but I want to ask two more questions because I think these are important ones. Now, a bit rewind tayo ng konti. The US element, we know that Cory Aquino's administration would not have survived if not for the intervention of the US military. Having said that, di sana yung Cory Aquino from the beginning pa lang, you're absolutely right. The civil-military relations was a mess. The military she didn't completely control. But maybe she could have leveraged the US angle to kind of bring them into the line, right? Kind of discipline these people. You know what I'm saying? Kasi she had a good relationship with the United States, diba? And parang patapos ng Cold War dito, medyo mahina ng Soviet Union. This is not the 70s or 60s. Patapos ng Cold War in a way. I mean, no one, of course, knew that mabaksak ng Soviet Union within few years. But nevertheless, I mean, the environment perhaps would have been more auspicious if they leverage the US military alliance to crush itong mga bad rebellious let's just call it what it is, proto-fascist military elements, right? Because at the end of the day, it was US who saved Cory Aquino anyway, di ba? If not for their interventions.
Well, looking back, halimbawa, pag yung una niyang state visit sa US, ano yung isang key element ng kanyang speech? We will pay all our debts. We will pay all the Marcos debts. Dapat humingi siya ng counting breathing space. No?
Oh, that's a disaster. The good debtor model,
Hindi
that's a
naman
total
nagre-
disaster.
No, okay. Wala
Total
tayong
disaster,
resources, wala tayong pera, no,
Yeah.
bagsak yung economy, tapos magpupromisa ka to pay all the debts, all
Yeah.
the Marcos debts. Dapat humingi ka ng breathing space. No? Babayaran namin yan, pero we need several years, no, para maayos namin yung aming ekonomiya bago namin
Tsaka the
simulan.
odious debt, Ronald. There are some debts na technically we shouldn't be paying kasi odious debt yan. Napunta lang sa cronies ni Marcos
no?
yan eh.
Pero yun yung pala, that was just the first year eh. No? Talagang debt service nag-take its toll dun sa transition.
Malakas yan may aircon.
So ang dami
please.
mong iniisip, tapos nagbabayad ka pa ng huge debts. No? So ang laki ng outflow of resources,
Yung
financial
aircon.
resources.
Yung temperature
Yun ang
sa left.
sinasabi ko.
Yeah.
Ito yung mga
Taas mo yung
what
left.
could have been. No, what could have been. Siyempre, hirap din siya noon dahil wala rin siyang karanasan sa governance, wala rin siyang karanasan sa political economy. Tapos parang indebted siya sa mga Amerikano dahil kinupkup sila, no, doon for several years.
Yeah, si Nino, yeah.
At tumulong naman, pero hindi masyadong tumulong in terms of the economy. Yun yung naging problema with the Americans during the transition. Diba?
Yeah.
Hindi sila masyadong tumulong eh. No?
Unlike in Taiwan, I think in the case of Taiwan, Chiang Kai-shek, up to quarter of their national income was aid from the United States. Nung
Yes.
tapos ng Chinese Civil War. So, actually, if you look at many US allies from Middle East to...
Malayo tayo.
Yeah, they
no?
juiced out the US. They juiced out the US. And then the Japanese nga eh, they were given cut a slack kasi the Japanese didn't pay na too much reparations to us and all. Kasi sabi ng US, hindi, kayong priority, hayaan mo ng mga Pilipinas. Andyan yung Russia. So, hindi tayo magaling in terms of making use of our alliances, which we'll discuss in a separate episode mamaya pag-usapan natin Taiwan, West Philippine Sea. But I want to just end it. The other what if Ramos had more time, meaning nag-succeed yung kanyang cha-cha move, and we didn't have ERAP, don't you think things would have turned out? Maybe Ronald Llamas would not have become the Secretary of Political Affairs, but I don't know. I think Philippines would have been in a better place if Ramos had more time and we shifted to a parliamentary system. I think
Could be, no? Pero hindi ko sigurado kung kaya na labanan yung ERAP. Pero definitely, mas may fighting chance siya kaysa kay John de Venecia. No, di ba? Ayun yung
course.
pan. Pero talagang, talagang very popular sa ERAP nun eh. No? ERAP is not just the digong then. No?
Yeah.
ERAP was a combination of Robin Padilla, Rafi Tulfo, Duterte, di ba? Yun yung kanya nun eh. Unstoppable siya eh, di ba? Yun yung problema nun eh.
ano yung Suicide Squad, yung parang mga bad versions ng Marvels, andun lahat sila Will Smith, yung mga gano'n, parang all elements andun yun, di ba? Parang kompleto siya. You're right. I mean, people make fun all of these ERAP jokes, but let's not forget, this guy was vice president, senator, mayor, shrewd politician, very shrewd politician, right? Hanggang ngayon, may influencer moment pa rin siya. So,
Street fighter yun.
grabe. Oh. But,
Hindi yun bobo.
macho yan, exactly.
And he transformed yung lahat ng atake sa kanya, binaligtad niya. He made them positive. The
Jiu-jitsu.
era
Yeah.
Di ba? And then he was already unstoppable at that time. So, kumbaga kung gano'ng kabland si FBR, ganun naman ka-exciting sa ERAP. So, ganun yung labanan niya.
But, okay, speaking of, just to end this episode, but di ba loyalist si ERAP, couldn't they have tied him down? Di ba? Yun na lang. I mean, if you can beat the guy, tie him down for his background, right?
Tinanggal siya as mayor. Isa siya sa mga tinanggal.
Exactly.
Noon, no?
Loyalista siya eh.
Yeah. Well, konektado yan sa transition. Kung
Yeah.
halimbawa, may extra year yung revolutionary government, perhaps the Arabs of this world would not have flourished.
Yeah.
No? Yun yung isang panja.
Yun nga, grabe, no? Ang daming mga path dependency because we didn't do this, it came back to haunt us in 5 to 10 years.
Yes,
And in this case, in 40 years, may BBM presidency na tayo. On that note, thank you very much. Pag-usapan natin still the spirit of opposition in terms of the opposition. I'm sorry, spirit of EDSA in terms of opposition. Pag-usapan natin, ito finally na, official na, may slate ng opposition. So let's talk about the pros and cons of that and things that are important for opposition. Medyo let's put on the strategist hat. Thank you so much, Sir Ronald Llamas. This was kind of a memory trail, historical, memoir, whatever. But it's important, right? Ilang beses, this is like 7th conversation podcast I've had on EDSA. But every time I discuss this, new things come out. No, very interesting. I had this with Cecilia. I had this with friends from the left, from the right, from you. So it's good kasi we want to be fair naman. Madali naman in hindsight to say this and that. But I would say, if you really studied history and all, you wouldn't have allowed the revolution to be so tame. Masyadong tame eh. Masyadong tame. Masyadong tame. It's too polite. You cannot have a polite revolution. Ang sabi ni Mao noon, like, revolution is not like a party or something like that. But this was even worse than. This was like a konyo party, very posh, very polite. Hindi pwede gano'n. Kailangan niya ng mga operator.
Kaya sinasabi mo yung French Revolution, medyo malayo.
Medyo malayo. Pero sana naman, di ba? Wag naman. Hindi naman gano'n. We're not going for reign of terror. But I'm saying, sana naman may konting pitik, di ba? Tuloy ngayon, puro na lang operators in power kasi walang nangyaring totoong revolution. Salamat, Sir Ronald. God bless po. Thank you. Okay, ito na.
Yeah. Nakausap mo ba si Cecilia?
Hindi, ito yung interview namin before comparing different countries. Brazil, Philippines. Transition. Siya yung nag-point out talaga na, the civil military relations was the worst part. So maganda yung analysis niya. Okay. Alright, ito pag-usapan natin. Finally, Ronald, ito na! Yung minamahal mong opposition. Nagparamdam na, finally. Salamat naman na medyo pinalayan na si Senator Leila de Lima. So medyo, I think Senator de Lima, since coming back, she really injected a lot of energy into the opposition, particularly the Liberal Party. I think Liberal Party is not the same like before. I mean, still, there's a long way to go before they go back to their quote-unquote glory days. But ito na, so over the past week or so, Ronald, habang hindi tayo nag-usap, inisip ko anong ginagawa mo habang looking at the full moon, at marami kang ibang mga interviews. Ito. Opposition has been making, diba? It has been kind of on the rolls. Statements, announcements here and there. Of course, Edsa coming in. And just days before the Edsa anniversary, ito na, nagkaroon na announcement. So it's Bam Aquino, Francis Pangilinan, and Chel Jokno, who are officially so far the 3 senatorial candidates. So I'm glad na hindi lang popcorn ang ginagawa ng opposition, and smartly they've realized they have to try to contest this. So what are your first thoughts before we go into the more detailed brass tacks?
The past few months, may effort na pagsama sila. Dahil si Bam kasi nag-resign sa Liberal Party.
Right.
No? Tapos kasama sila ni Shell Jokno doon sa Kaya Natin Party. Tapos si Kiko nasa Liberal Party. Tapos nung nakalabas si Laila ay kinuha siya spokesperson. Si Senator Risa Hontiveros naman, siya yung parang nagbubuo ng big tent para magsama. So yung first step, nagawa na. The first baby step. Nagsama na yung si Bam at saka si Kiko plus Chel. Tapos sabi ni Laila, kinukumbisi nila si Lenny kung pwede siyang sumama doon sa slate. Kung meron pa ganyang apat, so hindi naman mga pushover yan, no? Hindi naman mga pushover. Ang pinakamahina dyan si Chel, pero malaki yung in-increase niya from 3 million to 10 million votes, no? Yung first run niya, tsaka yung second
yung trajectory
run.
niya, oo.
Yeah, so yung trajectory niya is going up, no? Si Bam at saka si Kiko are former senators, so hindi naman sila mga pushover. Kahit medyo sa survey ay nasa labas pa sila ng 12, no? So magandang move yan, no? Ikalawa ay pinag-usapan natin doon sa previous episode, medyo nabubuhay yung EDSA spirit, di ba? So maganda itong template, maganda itong foundation going into the midterms, no? Lalo na mukhang hindi pa naman patay yung pink wave ng 2022. The 15-16 million votes na nakuha ni Lenny, yung huge mobilizations, no, na nag-climax sa Makati sa Meeting de Avance with 1.2 million people.
Right.
And most of these are hindi hakot. no? Hindi ito mga volunteers ito no? You have 700,000 sa rally sa Pasig, you have 800,000 sa rally sa Pasay, hundreds of thousands nationwide. So, ito yung bahagi ng EDSA spirit, no? Itong mga mobilization na ito. Of course, historic yung win ni BBM at saka ni Sara, no? Which is expected because of 6 years of Duterte, which remained very popular, no? Pero you cannot count out the pink and the yellows. They're still there, no? At itong nangyari sa EDSA celebration is a good template. At ikatlo, na hindi directly connected, pero merong dotted lines. Itong survey halimbawa sa ICC, no? I look at that as part of the EDSA spirit against impunity. No?
Right.
Ibig sabihin, nakakalungkot ng panahon ni Digong na parang everybody was supporting Tokhang. Pero ngayon, parang nagigising yung mga tao na that was wrong at there has to be something else. At ito yung posible, itong emerging criticism against impunity ay bahagi ito ng EDSA spirit. At pwede itong i-harness ng mga pink and yellow going into the midterms, no? So if organize well, if organize well. So itong slate na ito na incomplete pa lang, hopefully hindi mangyari katulad ng nangyari sa 2019 na zero, no? Hopefully ay kahit pumasok sila sa bandang last nung 12, at least makapasok. No, hindi ko aasahan na sila ay magtatap, no?
Yeah.
Pero makikita mo may movement Halimbawa, Amy Marcos, which was in the previous survey nasa top 5, ay ngayon nasa last 2.
Oh, wow.
No, si Amy, no? Bumababa siya, no?
Bakit kaya? Dahil na-discuss natin kasi both sides ni reject siya. Sabi mo, hindi ko alam saan ko siya pupulutan.
Yung bangka mo, baka lumubog dahil mahate Di ba yung sinasabi natin, no? So, huwag ka rin masyadong masobrahan ng laro, no?
Yeah.
Tapos, kung sakaling darating yung ICC, sometime this year, no? Baka maapektuhan some of the candidates of the Duterte camp. Bato, no? Bongo, no? At kung sasama si Digong, maapektuhan yan. So, you have 3 less winnable candidates dun sa top 12. So, pwedeng lumuwag May mga factors na pwedeng mangyari, no? How you maximize this emerging anti-impunity base. Paano mo ma-harness yung dati na pink wave at less than 2 years ago, at paano mo madala sa logical conclusion, halimbawa itong mga kakasuhan ng ICC. No? So, yan yung, kung sakali magkakaroon ng perfect storm, perhaps may tsansa yung mabubuo nung pink-yellow slate. No? Hindi ko alam kung sino pa yung hahatakin nila para sumama. Ako, duda ako if Lenny will join. Dahil mukhang...
local government.
No?
LGU. I think LGU would be also good.
Definitely si Laila, walang balak tumakbo. No? Si Drilon, mukhang retired na talaga.
Si Sunny Trillanes, mayor talagang gusto niya.
Well, si Sunny talagang nakafocus sa local.
Talagang LGU na siya this time. No? Oo.
No? Kaya, let's see. No? Ako naman, kahit naman dagdagan mo yung slate, halimbawa, meron kang 3, 4 na may fighting chance, tapos meron kang 4 na kahit medyo malabong manalo.
Pero long game. Pakilala mo muna.
Prepare para sa 2028.
Right.
For lack of a better example, parang si Risa. No?
Right.
Not necessarily losing twice, pero at least kahit hindi ka manalo sa first round mo, pero magmarka ka.
Yeah,
no?
yeah.
In a way, parang the Luke Espiritu framework.
Yeah.
No? Dahil si Luke naka 3 million votes. Masyadong malayo doon sa mga kasama niya na hindi man lang lumampas ng 1 million, di ba?
Right.
Votes. Pero nangyari yan dahil naging disruptor siya sa isang presidential debate. Ibig sabihin, no, in just one debate, no, pwede kang madagdagan ng 3 million votes no? Kung maganda yung handling mo, no? Yun yung sinasabi ko na
0 to hero, yeah.
Na in the world of social media, it can happen. No, it can happen. You can have a fast burn. You can have
Yeah.
a fast burn.
Uh, Before we talk about the 2025, let's discuss 2020, sorry, yung midterms, 2019, no?
Yeah.
Okay, obviously, to be fair, naintindihan natin, the structural limitations for oppositions was really crazy. We're getting reports back then na if yung LGUs daw nag-host ng opposition leaders, baka malagay sila sa narco list, diba? There were reports like that. I mean, things were really
Yeah.
crazy. Given na may incumbency advantage, to put it mildly, alam ng tao what we're referring to in midterm elections. Pero yung ano ni Digong, nakakatakot kasi kung nag-host ka daw ng opposition or something, baka malagay ka sa narco list. At alam natin, back in the day, that could have been a death sentence even. So, some opposition, Ocho Derecho candidates would say they couldn't even get hosted and access certain area. Kaya nga sabi ko, even the democratic nature of those elections were highly questionable. So we can go on and on about structural limitations, no, all the odds that they had to face. But having accepted that, saan siguro nagkakulang? I mean, do you think they could have still done better than ending up with literally zero, right? I mean, for the first time in 81 years, kahit isang
Yeah.
hindi nanalo. Was that inevitable? Was that like totally determined by the
I'm not
structure?
sure. No? Pero
Yun
may
nga eh.
tatlong factors dyan eh. No? Hindi lang yung chilling effect
Yeah.
ng EJK. Hindi lang yung chilling effect ng Tokhang,
Yeah.
which was at its height noong 2019. Di ba? At its height yan. Andun din yung buhay yung revolutionary government yan. Yung panahon na yan, 2019. No, diyan pinopropose yung revolutionary government. So, some of the major players ay hindi sigurado, no? Paano kung magkaroon ng revolutionary government? Tapos tinulungan namin itong opposition, no? Yun yung problema eh, no? Kaya talagang nag-hemorrhage yung Liberal Party and all other parties na pwedeng makipag-coalesce sa kanila because of the RevGov framework. At pinakamalaking elephant in the room, Digong was entertaining 90% approval rating
Yeah,
at that time,
that was
no?
crazy, yeah.
Yan yung napakataas,
Yeah,
no?
preponderant na talaga siya. Yeah.
Historic yan, no? Talagang yan yung pinakamataas yung kanyang popularity, no? Yan yung pinakamataas yung kanyang Punisher image, no? Yan yung so the Tokhang, the chilling effect, then the revolutionary government still on the table, no? And then the huge historic popularity of Duterte. Tapos, at the same time, defensive yung opposition.
Yeah.
No? Defensive yung opposition at that time. No? Meron kang Vice President, Leni Robredo, na na-demonize ng gusto. No? Meron kang senador na pinakulong. No? You have a sitting senador na nakakulong. Diba? Si Laila de Lima na na-demonize din. Meron pa daw mga sex tapes na lahat binato mo sa kanya. No?
Yeah.
Kaya that was the worst of time for any opposition, no? For any opposition to survive, no? Perhaps Mar Rojas or BAM would have survived, no? Pero hindi nila nakuha yung tamang timpla. No?
Yeah.
Dahil nagulat din sila eh. Nagulat sila sa Tokhang, thousands are being killed, no? Not even in the dictatorship na nangyari yun.
Yeah.
No? And then the revolutionary government framework on the table, and then the very popular president. No? Kaya nag-fumble din dahil they don't know how to face that triple whammy. No? Yan yung pala yan. No?
Shock and awe kasi nangyari. Talagang shock and awe yung kay Digong eh, di ba?
Yes, no? Tapos hindi rin ganun ka-close, hindi rin nagtulungan si Bam at saka si Mar because they don't like each other. No, they don't like each other. At kasama sila sa Ocho Derecho. And all the rest sa Ocho Derecho are practically neophytes. You have Hilbay, you have Samira Gutok, no? You have Shell Jokno, di ba? You have this election lawyer. No, yung karamihan doon sa slate are not veterans, are not political veterans. No, nobody even knows them. Yun yung pan. Ang dalawa lang talaga doon sa Ocho Derecho, yung sana may fighting chance. Si Bam at saka si Mar. But even the two of them don't like each other. No? Eventually, nag-resign si Bam sa Liberal Party. No? Pero part ng kanyang pag-resign ay yung kanilang dynamics ni Mar. Diba? Yun yung padya. Kaya hindi ko alam, looking back, Richard, hindi ko alam kung paano
Some may tweaks lang sana, yeah.
ayusin ito. No? I doubt kung makakahanap ka ng magandang campaign strategy in 2019, even realizing in retrospect what happened. No? Dahil, paano mo babaguhin yung chilling effects sa population ng Tokhang where thousands are being killed? And 2019 was the height of Tokhang. Tapos meron ka pang nakaamba na revolutionary government. Continuity. No? Tapos a very popular president as never before. More popular than Marcos.
Yeah.
Diba? Marcos never reached 90%. No?
Well, we don't know. Wala pang established pulsation, but you're right. I mean,
Sabagay, no?
I mean,
Pero,
phenomenon talaga not phenomenal, but a phenomenon si Digong, talagang influencer talaga yan eh. No, I
so
mean,
even looking back,
yeah.
Richard, hindi ko alam kung what might have been. No? What might have been.
But what does that say, Ronald? Because essentially what you're saying is they were not ready for someone like Digong. I mean, I completely understand
Yes,
that.
no?
But
Nobody
it's not,
was ready.
but look at it. Brazil had
Yeah.
Bolsonaro. Orban in Hungary. There were versions of in Czech Republic. Trump in US. But if you look at a lot of these countries, hindi sila na zero, right? I mean, the opposition would fight back. And in some cases, in Czech Republic, they won. Trump kept on losing midterms elections, re-elections. In Brazil, Bolsonaro lost eventually. Lula came back to power. So,
Yeah.
what's going on there? Is it because our opposition was lulled
The
in...
PT has a huge base. No? They were in government with two presidents. Diba? And Lula, two terms yata siya.
Yeah.
No? Tapos yung si Dilma
Si
was
Rousseff,
one term.
yeah.
So, hindi sila pushover. Tapos, kahit natalo yung kanilang kandidato, ang laki ng kanilang base sa local government, no? Sao Paulo,
Yeah.
Rio, Brasilia, etc. No, hindi sila nawala, no? They were there in huge chunks of the local government. Hindi katulad nung Yellow na wipe out or naglipatan kay Digong, no? Sa Brazil ay nandun sila, no? At hindi malaki yung kanilang pagkatalo, no? Yun yung siguro different.
Yeah, and in Brazil, we saw... Yeah.
Winner take all Diba, this is a winner take all society Diba? Pag nanalo yung presidente, everybody gravitates
Follow the leader, yeah. Except if the winner is bad, if the winner is a bad person, he takes all also. I mean, which is
Sa Brazil, you have several leftist parties
Yeah.
no, na hindi nawala. Diba? The PT, no, the Social Democrats, no, merong left-wing party na kahit maliit ay intact. So wala tayong ganung ideological parties here. No, you have some small ones, no, like Bayan Muna, Akbayan, but these are in the margins, di ba? Na of course not anymore dahil may senador na yung Akbayan, no.
Yeah.
Pero in the local government, no, walang latag. Unlike halimbawa the PT. They have mayors, they have governors, no? They have 80% of the trade unions, no?
Yeah, I mean, speaking of trade unions, I mean, the Party Trabajador of Brazil is also a product of their manufacturing base, right? I mean, this is another
Yes.
issue. Philippines has a very weak manufacturing base, unlike South Korea or Brazil. And if you look at these countries, because malaki manufacturing base, there's a big room for the left to organize, diba? Huge. I mean, Lula was a labor union leader himself, diba? Perhaps there's also
and our
the
industrial relation system is so divisive.
unlike
no?
those countries.
In
Yeah.
one factory, you can have several federations killing each other. No? Dun sa kwan. Sa Brazil, meron kang industry-wide unions. Meron
Yeah.
kang regional unions. You have huge conglomerations of unions. Sa atin, divisive How many federations do we have? No? 100, 200? Fighting each other regularly for local elections? No? So our industrial relation system, hindi lang yung sinasabi mo na manufacturing base, our industrial relation system is so divisive.
But what is kaya the reason of that? I mean, structurally, we can talk about the Philippine political economy, weak manufacturing base. I don't know the nature of FDI. So, but is there also a cultural aspect here in terms of kasi yung etong you put two Filipinos, you get three organizations. We see it everywhere, including the US, right? Ang dami. Di ba naalala mo yung dami naggalit sa'yo nung sabi mo?
In the 1950s and part of the 1960s, you still have CLO. You have huge federations, no? That was destroyed, no? Partly by
I see
our
what you're
American
saying.
friends, no? During the Hook Rebellion, di ba? At hindi na siya naibalik, no? Nag-create ka na ng isang industrial relations system na hindi na naibalik yung unified trade unions noong 1950s after the war, no? And before the war, no? Yun yung hindi na ibalik yung ganyang klaseng essence. No?
That's a good
Nagkaroon ka
point,
na ng
yeah.
low intensity conflict, nagkaroon ka na ng mga authoritarian leaders, no, semi-authoritarian leaders which prevented organizing, until the present, no?
That's it.
And of course, tama rin yung sabi mo, yung culture, no?
Yeah, there's something there. Oh.
Na-inculcate na yung culture of division. No? Pero before the war and after the war, you have such huge political parties. You have, di ba, yung Democratic Alliance won sa Central Luzon, di ba? Kahit nandyan bastion yan ng mga warlords, nanalo sila, di ba? In large chunks of Central Luzon. So, tapos meron kang trade unions na malalaki, di ba? In the 50s and parts of the 60s, no? Pero that was destroyed.
No,
At hindi na nakabago
that's a
na-
very good point. It's not true na the left was always weak or the manufacturing labor base was always weak. There was a time kaso dinurog sila ng Philippine and America, di ba? Of course, this is Cold War, fear of Soviet Union,
Yeah.
communism, etc. Having said that, I mean, it's been like, what, 7 years? It's already 2024. Obviously, the world is different. The manufacturing sector is not as strong as before. But, I just came from the US. There, the labor unions fighting back, especially in the automotive sector. You had a situation whereby last year, both Biden and Trump were there at the rallies of automobile unions. And eventually, the automobile unions won, right? Amid the electrification of the industry and all of that, which has effect on the labor sector. So, in a way, labor unions are coming back, including in the heartland of new liberal capitalism, which is the United States. So I wonder, like, if we cannot do a Brazil, we cannot do a like,
85
yeah,
Pero Richard, 85% of our economy are SMEs. These are small to medium scale enterprises, no?
but this is
Wala
the same in most developing countries, isn't it? I mean,
wala tayong scale. At ito mga sweatshops to, These are sweatshops, no? ito yung pinakamahirap i-organize, no? Ito yung mga less than 100 people, di ba? No, yun yung problema rito, no? Yun yung kaibahan, halimbawa dun sa industrial base sa US or even Latin America, di ba? Like Brazil. No, they have huge unions, no, in the mining sector. We don't have unions in the mining sector here, diba?
So Ronald, realistically then, I mean, I think we laid out yung deeper reasons kasi, di ba, you get a lot of shallow, nonsensical analysis there. So at least it's good people are getting an idea of how do you do structural analysis. No, you look at the big forces that shape, labor sector, labor organization, unionization, etc. So I'm glad that people are getting a little bit of a snippet of, how to properly discuss these issues. Hindi pwede sabihin, ay, mahina lang sila. Like, you cannot explain things like that. Mahina, walang leadership. But having said that, I mean, in the 21st century, for 2028, for beyond 2025, having learned all of the lessons supposedly, kasi actually there's a quote that comes to mind about the French Revolution, something like, they forgot nothing, but they also learned nothing. Something like that about the Bourbons, right? Like, wala silang nakalimutan, pero wala silang natutunan. So, are we in that situation whereby, it's not like we're forgetting the past and all.
Actually, Richard, gusto kong pag-usapan to deeper. Kaso, baka kulang ang 30 minutes or 1 hour para pag-usapan.
Yeah, kaya I consciously cut you there because I know this could go down a lot.
Hindi tayo mag-alap ng a session just for this, no? Dahil
It should,
ang daming variables yung pag-uusapan mo rito, di ba? Hindi lang yung political economy, hindi lang yung culture ng mga Pilipino, hindi lamang yung intervention, no, ng mga foreign elements, no. Ang daming pag-uusapan.
You're right.
Pero gusto kong pag-usapan yan because I give lectures about this topic. But usually 2 to 3 hours.
No, let's do a proper episode on that. Yeah, kasi ako I'm a big fan of Perry Anderson's writings on Brazil, right?
Yes.
How Brazil fell apart. I have actually a copy of the book there. I think one of our fans actually sent.
I was there. No, I was there several times nung first run ni Lula. Nung second run ni Lula.
4 times siya tumakbo, di ba? Yeah.
He lost 3 times. Nanalo lang siya na ika-4.
Actually, 5 times siya tumakbo, sorry. Twice nanalo, thrice natalo, yeah.
Tapos, ang lalaking, talagang malalaki yung trade unions dyan.
You're right. I
Inggit
agree.
na inggit ako. No?
I know.
Inggit na inggit ako, no? Dyan sa...
Grabe sila,
for
di ba?
a while, sa
Yeah.
Japan, yung soyo was so huge, no? Pero in the 70s and 80s, lumiit din sila. Di ba? Lumiit din sila. So,
No, I know.
that's a different story naman.
No,
No?
I had-
Laki-laki.
Yeah, we had an episode with Cecilia. Maybe I'll ask Cecilia to come in, tatlo na lang tayo. It'd be nice kasi we need someone who's also familiar with Brazil, as in someone who's based in Brazil and compare natin itong This is a very important issue. I think balikan dapat natin because masyadong shallow yung analysis eh. I mean, we can go on bashing the Dilawan forever, but my point is, okay, let's also discuss the left, right? Ang daming gulo din doon eh, di ba?
Yeah.
So, yun nga eh, bakit, that's what I'm trying to understand, ba't walang gel, right? Something that holds the bigger opposition together, an umbrella coalition opposition together. But having said that, like, just short, I mean, because, we can go on and on about this, we have to have separate discussion. But, Ron, like, what do you think is the ideal strategy, short, medium term, and long term for the opposition from 2025 onwards?
Paliwanag ko lang, Richard, no? Nung nanalo si Pinoy, no? They are a tricycle party. They can fit in one tricycle.
Yeah.
The liberals, di ba? Nung nanalo siya, everybody joined the Liberal Party. So you were expecting na large chunks of this will remain. Pero it didn't eh. Dahil nga because of the nature of our party system. No? Yung tricycle party ng liberal, nangyari uli. No? Dahil naglipatan yung mga sumama sa liberal. They're not real liberal party members nung panahon ni Pinoy, di ba? Yun yung naging problema. Kaya ang bilis din magbago. From the ruling party to a marginalized party. At a very insignificant party noong 2019.
But that's what happened to PDP Laban too. Ilan na lang ang PDP Laban. Yeah, it keeps on happening, yeah.
Si Digong, PDP Laban, nag-iisa lang ang kongresista nila.
Yeah.
No? Pero
Na majority na.
Everybody joined the PDP Laban. Eh, ngayon, wala na namang laman yung PDP Laban.
Yeah.
Wala namang laman na yung PDP Laban. No? So, yun yung problema. Isang mahalagang elemento nito is our party system. No? Mahina yung 8 diretso dahil naubos. Naubos sila dahil everybody went to the ruling party. No? Isa yun. Isa yun.
Yun nga, so obviously connected again yung bandwagoning effect, presidential bandwagoning, dun sa lack of real political parties. But yeah, the reason I'm trying to have, hindi pa deep tong conversation. I just want people to go beyond just cultural arguments. Ang Pinoy ay ganito lang. I mean, kasi kung cultural argument, then tapos na usapan. Di hopeless case na tayo. Di wala na. That's it. Uwi na tayo, di ba? I want to do a bit deeper than that. But at the same time, tanggap din natin, meron talaga tayong fractiousness, tribalism, which bedeviled us from the Ilustrado time. I mean, just look at yung away ng mga Ilocano Brigade nila Juan Luna versus Aguinaldo Cavitismo. I mean, this whole thing has been there with us. Ang point ko is, it's 100, ilang years na, 130 years na. Medyo, sana naman, di ba? Medyo mag-level up tayo na
Most
konti.
revolutions naman may ganyan eh. No? If not all. Pero, at a certain moment, no? Meron kang ideology.
Brings
at
them
meron
together,
kang leader
yeah.
na kumakatawan ng ideology na yan,
Yeah.
na naging gel. Na naging gel.
Yun nga, kulang sa gel talaga eh.
Dito sa atin, wala na nga ideology, na wala pa yung leaders. yun yung problema.
Pero yun nga, bakit wala, why aren't we a more ideologically driven political system? Bakit kaya? Kasi ang dami mga third world countries na mas mahirap pa sa atin, you still see ideological driven mass-based parties. Like India, right? I mean, India is a poorer country than the Philippines, and yet you see many parties that, I mean, I'm no fan of Congress Party, I'm definitely no fan of the BJP, but you have strong ideological driven parties there. Turkey
but
also.
The real ideological parties like the Democratic Alliance was destroyed. No? Even when they were very strong sa kanilang unang eleksyon. Diba? They won in large chunks of Central Luzon, and yet they were destroyed. They were put in prison, no? They were EJK, no? So yung attempts to participate electorally, openly, ng ideological parties was stunted because of repression. No? Because of repression.
So,
Unlike halimbawa sa Europe, the social democratic parties are 100, 150 years old.
right.
They've been there, no, since the modern state was established, no, at the very start. at the very start, they were there and never left. No? They were, even during Nazi time, hindi nawasak yung Social Democratic Party. No? Nagtago lang. Sa atin, wala magsusurvive dito na ideological party. No? At least a mainstream ideological
Yun nga
party. Even the liberals is not clearly an ideological party dahil 90% of their members left nung hindi na sila wala na sila sa gobyerno.
I mean, just look at their, yung mga platforms ng mga parties natin. Essentially, it's like love, love, love. Right? It's like motherhood statements. Parang, candidate number parang I, thank you. Tapos parang, diba? Walang laman eh. Walang laman. As in, it's all like love, family, motherhood, nation.
Where's the gel?
Wala.
Part of the gel is the ideology. No, as well as the leadership.
You're absolutely right.
A combination of leadership and ideology. Nung may dagdag pa diyan yung mga hook, they came from the Socialist Party before the war, di ba? The Communist Party before the war. These are folk heroes. Yeah, di ba? These are folk heroes. For lack of a better example, parang yung mga Sandinista. No?
Lumaban sa
from generation to generation. These are family. Remember, yung political party are family-based. No? Diba? Yan yung halimbawa, pag pumunta ka sa Europe, yung kanilang lolo at yung lolo ng kanilang lolo are socialist. No?
Yeah.
Pasa-pasa yan sa kanilang mga anak.
Family
diba?
tradition ng ideology.
So family
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Families, communities, di ba? Yun yung kanila Yan, nakat yan sa atin. Nawasak yung ganyang klaseng tradition. Well, inabutan ko yan noong 1980s when I was organizing in Central Luzon, in Pampanga, in Tarlac. May ganun pang remnants, no? Na yung kanilang lolo ganito, yung kanilang tatay ganito, yung kanilang tsuhin ganito. May ganun pang remnants. Pero naputol na yan in the 70s and 80s. Yan ganyan. Which is sad, no? Dahil political parties are not just about ideologies. They should be about families and communities.
Right. There should be a life world there. They should be emotional investment. I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Yun yung nasira sa atin. At nakikita ko pa rin sa ibang bansa like sa Brazil, no, sa Chile, no, the tradition of struggle wasn't cut up to now. Sa atin na-cut Di ba? Sa atin na-cut.
Again, the reason why I'm hedging here is because natakot ako this can go on forever. So my suggestion would be let's have an episode on Isabelo de los Reyes, right? And then we can play it from there. I think that would be a nice way of discussing the lost golden era of the progressive movement in the Philippines.
Diba sabi mo nga nung several months ago,
unsung heroes.
Tuwing episode natin, ibalik natin yung some of our heroes.
Kaya nga, we have to have like specific, let's start as in from the beginning, Isabelo de los Reyes, and then trace the trajectory of the progressive movement in the Philippines. Yeah, just to close on this.
Amado Hernandez, yung sinasabi ko na last moment na unified ang trade
unions.
After nung
exactly, we can go like that.
Hernandez na wala na.
Okay, so we can go from Isabel de Reyes to Amado Fernandez. So that's very good discussion. I think we have to have a separate, proper discussion for that to give due credit and respect to the legacy of these people. Kasi mahabang usapan yun. I don't want them to just be a footnote in this discussion. Thank you very much, Secretary Ronald Llamas. Ayan na, mariretag na tayo kasi hindi na uso mag-retag nowadays. But I'm glad we had this conversation kasi I'll be honest, I don't think enough people are hearing this kind of conversation. This is something you've seen academic circles, in UP world, in our world, in progressive world, but it's a very important discussion, right? And it's a mainstream discussion in Brazil, in Mexico, in many developing countries. For some reason,
no?
Yes, sir. Co-host ka, so yeah, I don't have my veto power ka.
Yeah. Nung nag-organize ako ng mga peasants sa Pampanga, pinapakita sa akin ng matatanda yung mga writings ng kanilang mga lolo ng panahon ng Kastila. So from the Katipunan to the Socialist Party, no, hanggang dun sa Hukbalahap, merong hindi na break yung kanilang legacy, yung kanilang tradition, no?
Chain of continuity.
The old songs, no? Nandoon nakasulat, handwritten, no? Yung mga Tapos pero nagtapos yan sa kanilang generation. yung mga sumunod na generation ng mga bata, wala na, hindi na tinago yung ganong klaseng transfer from one generation to another. Yun yung nakakalungkot. Sana sa ating generation hindi mangyari. Sana yung mga Hidarian pwedeng ipasa yung... Sa bagay, iba na yung mundo ngayon, no? Yung mga libro mo, nasa YouTube na, nasa internet na, so hindi na siya mawawala. Pero nanghihinayang ako, nung 80s, when I was organizing, kita mo nadudurog na yung mga papel eh.
Yeah.
No? Nung kanilang mga ninuno, pero nakasulat. No? Nakasulat. No?
That's a very good point. Yung life world, yung community behind the ideology. Ideology cannot be just in the air. Dapat may komunidad. That's a very, very good point. I think we should have Leloy. We should have Leloy back. I think we should do this with Leloy kasi ang ganda ng bagong libro ni Leloy. So I reviewed it. This is just preprint and all. He has a fantastic book, Empire of Austerity. It explains saan galing itong bad monetary policy, anti-development state natin in ways that I haven't seen by anyone done before. So he would be a perfect person kasi I think he's also a fan of... I mean, practically all of the guys who know a thing or two about history, lahat sila Team Isabelo de los Reyes. Obviously, I'm biased because Ilocano si Isabelo. I mean, I love Rizal, but as a Ilocano, I'm super proud of Isabelo de los Reyes. What a brilliant guy. Let's discuss him in a separate episode. Let's bring also Lelo because I think it would be nice to have a historian.
Balik na ba siya sa US?
No, he's still in Berkeley. Yeah, yun nga. Yung time zone lang kasi
I
natin.
thought he was here.
Bumalik na siya.
Hanggang January.
Yes, I hope to catch up with him also soon naman dun sa kabila, God willing. But in the meantime, I can see, Ronald, na-animate ka, especially when I brought the Brazil example, right? The PT and all of that. I could immediately saw in your eyes, right? Na like, oh my God, you want to discuss it a lot.
I was there a lot of
No, I know,
times.
man. It's a very exciting case. And as we speak, actually, Bolsonaro is being tried for potential treason because he was trying to trump his way. You know? So, big things happening in Brazil as we speak, right?
Pero lalaki pa rin yung mga rally niya, di ba?
Yes, mga pro-Bolsonaro rally. So,
Yeah.
so just as we speak, lots is happening in Brazil. It's a country, it's a beautiful country, beautiful culture, beautiful people, but a lot to also watch about their politics. Very tragic, very difficult. So I really suggest folks to pay more attention when we discuss these things. Hindi kami nagpapakute lang. Kasi ganito naman Ronald, kung gusto natin magpakita ng social tayo, we'll talk about French politics, di ba? We'll talk about Macron, we can talk about, yung mga ganun. Pero kung gusto natin magpakita na tropical, lefty, Brazil ang talagang minamahal natin, di ba? So yun, I really, really appreciate this, Ronald. I could see you're animated. So, yeah, I think we need a proper episode for these things. Siguro gawa tayo ng series talaga, like mini-series. Because I'm learning lessons from other podcast episodes. Like there's this really podcast I love, Empire series. They have series like Roman Empire, Persian Empire, and then they have mini series like Discovery of Indian Food by Britain. You know what I'm saying? Like so, I think we can do something like that. Let's do a mini series na lang. I'm sure people will appreciate that. Now, let's go to your favorite topic next episode. Very shortly, mga Duterte ulit. I just want to shortly talk about them before we go to our favorite president, of course. Ayan naman, matatrola naman tayo. Our very traveled... Wala, hindi na ako sa kanya Magellan Jr. kasi baka ma-accuse din ako na Magellan. Sa akin kasi binabayaran na ng taxpayers ng ibang bansa, hindi sarili kong bansa. So at least my conscience is clear. Salamat, Sir Ronald Llamas.
Yeah, okay.
Ano yung sa ano? Obrigado, right? Obrigado in Portuguese. Obrigado. Okay, ito na. We'll keep this short now. Napahaba tayo ng Na-miss mo lang yata ako eh. Ayan. Napakahaba ng mga episodes natin ngayon. Talagang pag 1 week tayo din nag-catch up. Medyo...
History, ideology.
Pero solid
political
yun.
economy.
Solid yun. I really appreciate that, especially the Brazil discussions. I like discussing Brazil kasi it's a developing country like us. Unlike, US, Germany. Medyo mahirap eh. But let's go back to this. Pag-usapan natin ng Pilipinas. I mean, obviously, in a previous episode, we discussed how the Dutertes are trying to appropriate the Edsa spirit to feed into their own drama, Hanash, Bardagulan with BBM. But we're also seeing some other interesting tweak in the Duterte strategy. It looks like Baste Duterte is almost regularly making headline-grabbing statements. I'm not saying intentionally, but every week or so, right? So yung latest banat niya, medyo banat Baste. Banat Baste, parang kung banat by Baste siya, di ba? Yung latest banat niya is parang biggest scam yung mga promise ni Marcos na 20 pesos kada kilo and all. And ako naman, biggest scam pa rin, 3 to 6 months, I'll solve corruption. But it
Yun yung
looks...
sinabi niya sa Cebu. Yeah.
Exactly. So, do you think that Baste is now the plan B? I mean, if Sara is not really the one to be their presidential bet, then looks like Baste, who seems to be more like his father, has that kind of macho, suave vibes. Do you think that could be an option down the road for them, or plan B to Sara?
Pwede, no? He's a much better looking Duterte than the dad, no?
That's a pretty low bar, but sige, yeah.
Yeah. Pero baka marami pa siyang kakainin eh, no?
Yeah.
Una, as a mayor, hindi maganda yung kanyang performance. Ang tawag sa kanya, absentee mayor, no? So wala siya nung
Do you like his father? No, I'm just kidding. Yung father niya, in fairness, hindi absentee sa mayor. Absentee president.
Wala siya nung ganung klaseng history ng kanyang tatay. No? Tsaka yung tatay niya talaga nagtataob ng lamesa. Yung rambling ng kanyang tatay is very authentic. No? Pero lahat naman kasi pwede mo i-create eh. Di ba? Pwede kang mag-create ng legend, ng mystique around the person. At may starting point siya, the Duterte brand. Pwede niyang gamitin yan. No? Pero I doubt kung pwede siya ng tit for tat. Yung ganun ba? Parang si Sara, nung humarap sa Senate, nahirapan eh. Parang nauna yung legend ni Sara Duterte kesa dun sa kanyang substance. No? Nung nasubukan yung kanyang substance, it was found wanting. Baka ganun din ang mangyari kay Baste. Baka as senator, no, magandang baka mas viable siya. Dahil ang iboboto ng mga botante sa Senate
It's the name.
It's the name.
Yeah, and
diba?
number one si Digong sa number of surveys we're seeing right now over the past 3 months, ilang beses na lumalabas siyang number one. So Baste will just be the fill-in, di ba? Like, okay, if not the father, then he's like the junior, right? He's like a junior,
Mas
right?
may chance siya sa Senate. And then, let's see kung pwede siya sa 2028. Kung halimbawa mag-unravel yung kanyang sister. No, siya yung... Pero ang tumataas talaga ngayon ay yung mga tulpo. No? May isang survey ako
Grabe,
na,
no? Tulfos talaga.
na even in Mindanao, mas mataas na si Tulfo kaysa kay Sara.
Pero may Mindanao background sila, di ba? Zamboanga.
Hindi pa siya nagpapakilala as a candidate.
Yeah,
No? Yan yung tapos yung dalawa niyang brothers ay nasa top 5 ng all surveys. No? So, yan yung makakalaban nila Baste. Yan yung makakalaban nila Sara.
I mean, can you imagine a Senate of multiple Tulfos, Baste?
No.
I mean... My goodness. And I think Baste will be 40 by 2028, unlike Vico Soto. Because I keep on seeing Vico Soto in comment section, no, he will not be age qualified. I don't know bakit may age qualification. Si Macron nga, naging presidente ng 38. I mean, anyway, whatever.
So yun ang hindi ko alam. Hindi pa tested si Baste. Unlike, halimbawa si Sara, naging mayor, di ba? Abogada, no? Si Digong, abogado, naging mayor forever, no?
Tick the boxes. Tick the boxes.
Yeah. Si Baste wala pa eh. Unknown element pa siya. No? Unknown element pa siya. So let's see. No? Pero ang halos sigurado ko, pwede siya as senator. Dahil ang iboboto is the name, Duterte. Kahit halimbawa hindi tumakbo si Digong, no? May tumakbong isang Duterte, I'm almost sure...
Marinig ka, mother. Yeah.
Sa Senate.
Yeah, I mean... We just had a complete episode on how our politics lacks ideology and substance. So I'm not sure lack of substance will be a problem. I mean, how should I put it? Like, parang when you say, pero kulang sa like, yeah, but like, as if naman, di ba? Like, I don't know. I mean, he could just TikTok his way to this.
Yung iba naman kasi mga artista. Di ba?
Yeah.
Yung iba ay mga politiko na nakapag-build up sa Congress, no? The Joel Villanueva, the Win Gatchalians, no? The Sani Angara, no? Etc. No? The Jinggoy Estrada, no? And the others are mga artista. The Lito Lapid, the Robin Padilla, the Bong Revilla, no?
But what if the opposition also runs? Let's say Pia Wurtzbach, Jano Gibbs. Do you think that could be also an option for opposition?
Si Willie Revilla balak pumasok.
Pero Willie's on the other side. I'm talking about the opposition. Like, do you think the opposition can do like Angel Locsin, Pia Wurtzbach, Jano Gibbs?
Si Angel Locsin sana pwede noong 2019.
Yeah,
no?
that was her
Ngayon,
moment. Yeah.
Medyo matagal na siyang wala sa eksena eh.
Yeah.
No, kumbaga, hindi ko sure kung yung pag nawala ka kasi ng ganyang katagal, no, yung name recall mo nababawasan eh. Pero nung 2016, 2019, popular pa si Angel Locsin. I'm not sure now. No? Dahil wala na siya mga pelikula, wala na siya mga guestings.
Yeah.
No? Parang nawala siya. Di ba?
But that could be an
Pia
option,
Wurtzbach,
right?
I doubt if he will join the opposition.
She'll do her own independent thing.
Yeah.
I mean,
Ayun yung,
medyo
Angel
ano din.
Locsin, medyo nabahiran ng oposisyon.
Yeah. Medyo pink.
Nabahiran ng progressive
Vice
politics.
ganda. Don't you think Vice ganda would be
Ayun,
ano?
yun, siguradong mananalo yun.
I mean, imagine the Senate, Tulfos, Vice ganda. I mean,
Pag-decide siya pumasok sa politika, mananalo yun. No?
grabe talagang Pilipinas. I mean, can you imagine if we'll have a Senate, multiple Tulfos,
Diba?
multiple Duterte, kasi baka tumakbo both father and son. My goodness, ano to
Pero
parang...
birthday ni Pepe Jokno yata kahapon, no? Pero can you imagine, no, na a Pepe Jokno now, no?
Yeah, I mean, wow. I mean, of course, we had a long conversation.
I was in high school no first time ko siya narinig.
Yeah.
Kaya
How
na-inspire
did we
ako
go
na
from
pumasok sa-
Pepe Jokno to...
Na-inspire ako pumasok sa politika. Sabi ko, grabe. He can make the crowd cry. He can make the crowd angry. He can make the crowd laugh. And in between, no, hindi mababaw yung kanyang speech, no? Pero imagine mo yung sway of emotions na yan. Tapos hindi niya bibitawan yung core message niya.
Symphony, eh. But that guy was just genius level. I mean, he taught both accounting and bar. Self-taught pa siya sa law school. I mean, that guy, I think no one has done what Pepe Jokno has done, right? Incredible,
Or
brilliant.
Ninoy Aquino telling jokes in between yung kanyang mga very eloquent speeches.
Uy, parang tayo yan, ah. Ninoy pa lang style natin, ah. No, I mean, di ba sabi ni Leloy, ang idol talaga ni Digong is si Ninoy. Yung versatility, you can joke, and then you can go serious, yung switching style, yung multiple...
Pero napakalayo nung rambling niya sa
Well,
eloquence.
medyo medyo ibang version niya. Let's not go into the discussion. Baka Joe Biden discussion. No, let's not go there. Okay, let's end this episode on a very important note. Anong take mo dun sa glutathione? Drip everywhere. Sabi niya, drip here, drip there, drip everywhere.
With the
I mean,
husband whose main skill is singing one song during the entire election campaign.
Glutathione.
At yung nagmarka sa kanya ay yung pagsusuklay ng kanyang bigote. I won't be surprised. No, what happened?
Wait, Ronald, totoo ba yung bigot? Parang ang kapal ng bigot. Ako hindi ko magawa. May beard ako pero I cannot make it like, totoong bigote ba yan? Or may ano siya? Extenders ba tawag siya?
So, hindi ako magugulat doon, no? What happened in his office, no?
Baka, mamaya maraming drip-drip mangyari dyan sa next Senate, ha? Mukhang mag-amang Duterte, magkapatid na Tulfo. I mean, this is gonna get interesting. Tapos,
well, Erap was a movie star, but he was a mayor.
I mean, he was more like Reagan, right? I mean, no offense.
President,
Yeah.
So,
He was more like, kaya nga sabi ko, there's a big difference between Reagan, celebrity Hollywood, who went through governor of California, and then Trump, right? There's a big difference. Just because you're both celebrity or artista, it doesn't mean you're the same. Totally different ball game ito eh. So, magdi-drip-drip na lang tayo. Speaking of Senate, kanina dumaan ako sa airport, may nakita ko parang yung magandang Senate building na bago. Parang patapos na yata. Aba, masarap yata maging senador ngayon ah. Sarap magpa-drip-drip doon, tapos skincare ka doon sa ano, tapos habang nasa BGC ka, ganun-ganun, masaya.
Diba?
Sarap buhay talaga ng mga ano natin.
Tapos our Gini coefficient, di naman nagbabago.
Ay, konting bumaba, in fairness, sabi ng ADB, bumaba ng konti because of the wage
We're still
increases.
the level of the Congo, democratic government of the Congo, which is improving. No?
Ronald, wag naman tayo ma-depress, glutathione muna tayo.
Rwanda.
Ayan na. Hoy, Rwanda, magandang Rwanda. Mas maganda sa Pilipinas, ha? Huwag mo insultuhin ang Rwanda. Si Kagame.
Educational system.
Oo. French and English pa sila.
Talagang pabagsak, di ba?
Kagame. Wag mo insulting Rwanda. They're more ahead. Mas magaling yung lead. I mean, I'm not a fan of Kagame's authoritarian style, but that guy has solid governance.
Ibig mo sabihin, kailangan magkaroon ng genocide dito?
Hindi, I'm just saying, ito ka na naman I'm talking about like, my goodness, Ronald, you are a horrible person.
Ka naman, di ba?
No, what I'm saying is, ba't yung mga African countries sa pag-iwanan tayo eh? Like, I mean, you know, we've been to Africa. They're better than us. Well, South Africa, malayo talaga sa atin ever since. Or Botswana, mayaman naman yan. Pero, even like Morocco, ang ganda ng Morocco compared sa Philippines. Grabe yung improvement nila over the years, di ba? So, I know, kaya yung Senado natin, drip-drip lang muna tayo dyan. Magluta tayo na lang tayo.
In the next 2-3 years, magko-compete tayo with Cambodia.
Well, at least we beat them in size kasi malit silang bansa. I mean, like, yun na lang. Kasi Laos, talo na tayo. Yung Laos, meron na silang high-speed railway, di ba? Ang ganda-ganda. Yung high-speed railway nila, shucks. Alright, bago tayo ma-depress about our upcoming... But okay, Ronald, in your lifetime, is this the worst Senate we have seen? And more importantly, are we gonna see even a worse Senate if Jokno, Bam, and Pangilinan don't make it? I mean, is this a bottomless iced tea?
I won't be surprised. Let's put it that way. No, I won't be surprised if the Senate gets worse.
Even, like, just when you thought ito yung floor, meron palang basement.
May mga babalik naman, no?
Yeah.
Babalik naman si Ping Lacson, di ba?
Right.
Possibly Gordon, no?
Marinig ka.
Babalik naman, no?
Parang I'm not very reassured by that choices, like Gordon.
Compare naman doon sa mga movie stars natin.
So makapasok na si Dick.
May mga
Makakapasok
utak
na si
naman
Dick
yan.
Gordon.
May mga utak naman yan. Like Ping was the guardian of our budget. No? Lagi niyang
Ay, in fairness, yes, yan. No? Actually, I'm hoping, if hindi tatakbong presidente, si Benji Magalang will run for Senate. I'm hoping, I think that could be a good option, no? Si Benji Magalang. I think,
Pero 2028 yan.
parang he could be the next Lacson, no? Parang,
Bico Soto sa 2028.
ay, given na yan. Pero bata pa kasi sila for president. Yeah. Yun nga, like, kawawa naman tayo. Pero, alis na si Cynthia Villar. So, how are you gonna feel about it? Wala nang mga, boba ba tayo? Yung mga ganyan, mga quotable quotes.
Sigurado may papalit sa kanya.
Yung asawa niya, di ba?
Or yung asawa. No? Pero sigurado may tatakbong bilyar.
Kasi kulang ang isang bilyar. You need 2 bilyars.
Dalawang bilyar sa Senate.
Kailangan talaga eh. Hindi pwede isa lang.
Hindi na pwede isa lang, no?
Grabe yung mga memes, di ba? Pag malayong tingin, ako may bakanteng land daw doon. May tinitignan. Grabe yung mga memes na yan. Mamimiss ko yung mga quotable quotes niya. Bobo ba tayo? Bakit ganyan na pag-iwan tayo ng Vietnam? Ganun siya. Okay. I think as depressing as the topic is, we were able to put some smile over it. Let's go to the final topic.
Welcome back, Big R.
Yeah. Welcome back to me, but not to our president, which we'll discuss in the penultimate episode, our Marcos Jr. Pag-usapan natin yan. Salamat, Sir Ronald.
Yeah. Salamat.
Yan ang gusto ng mga tao, yung mga ganyan, gluta tayo discussion. Okay, sir, sa previous episode, pinag-usapan natin, glutathione, drip, Senate, bottomless iced tea. Ito naman episode, pag-usapan natin, Waldorf. Ronald, anong balita, anong hotel ba is-stay ni BBM sa Melbourne? I think as we speak, he's flying to Melbourne. Kamusta naman ano natin dyan? Anong mga marites dyan?
Hindi ko alam. Basta alam ko, pupunta siya ron. Tapos babalik siya ulit after 3 days.
Tapos babalik
2 days
ulit?
Sa Australia, punta siyang Melbourne tsaka Canberra.
For the ASEAN...
balik siya rito for 3 days, tapos balik siya uli ron. For a summit.
He's so tired. He's so tiring. Our hard-working president.
Traveling parang si Richard Haydarian. No?
Kasi ako ibang taxpayers. Sa kabilang, yung mga sponsor ko, third world ako, siya iba eh.
Pero mukhang nung binabanatan natin siya, na hindi siya nag-i-scale up as a leader, no, hindi siya nag-i-scale up as a crisis manager, hindi siya nag-i-scale up as resolving itong away ng kanyang mga allies in the Senate and the House. Kahapon, miniting niya yung Senate leadership at saka yung House leadership. At mukhang nakabuo sila ng some kind of unity, no? On us. Mukhang tahimik na yung both houses
Yeah.
about voting separately or voting jointly. I doubt if the problem has been resolved. But at least may tactical moment sila na medyo may truce yung bakbakan. Dahil kung na-monitor mo yung bakbakan this past few weeks, grabe, very personal.
Yeah.
No? Yung atake between the majority floor leader of the Senate against the majority floor leader of the House, the majority floor leader of the Senate against the appropriations head of the House, no, etc., etc., the talking heads, no, Amy Marcos, etc. So talagang grabe yung bakbakan, no, and they're practically in the same camp. They're in the BBM camp. Hindi ito labanan ng opposition versus administration. Labanan ito ng administration versus administration.
Faction to, faction.
Yes.
Parang PDP laban faction, Quizzy,
binuhay nung head ng Appropriations Committee, yung mga kaso dati ni Majority Floor Leader Joel Villanueva. Binuhay naman ni Majority Floor Leader Joel Villanueva yung mga kaso ng Appropriations Head, no? Ganun yung bakbakan.
Ping-pong.
No? Tapos nagkaroon daw ng truce. Binrake yung truce, away na naman, no? Even si Subiri, no, na medyo above the fray,
medyo nagbardagulan na rin.
No?
Medyo
Sabi
nagbardaguls.
niya, bakit araw-araw yung press conference ng Congress? Gusto ba nilang tumakbo sa Senado?
Totoo yan. Lakas mag-press con. Lalo yung paborito natin congressman, si Joey Salceda, di ba? Mayroon pa siyang sinabi na cryogenics daw ang gagawin nila sa PI ngayon habang wala pang... Tuwan-tuwa ako sa mga congress na press con. Parang talagang nag-a-apply itong mga to.
Hindi, kanina umaga nakakatawa. No? Everybody was in Malacanang
Right.
to sign the Magna Carta for seafarers.
Right.
Biglang binawi ni Bongbong. Biglang kinancel yung signing. No? kaya nagkagulo. No?
Bakit? Ano daw? Anong reason?
Walang paliwanag.
Just like that?
So kanina sa House, pinag-usapan yan, no? Parang ibinalik yung Magna Carta. So tumayo yung isang congressman, no? Sabi niya, ba't natin pag-uusapan yan? Tapos na yan, Hindi niya alam na hindi pinirmahan ng president yung Magna Carta. So nag-break yung House, no? Parang nagkagulo sila. Hindi alam ng isang kwan. Parang hindi nila alam yung dahilan Nobody knows the reason.
Kasi
No?
si Fermin ang...
Wala kang makasagot.
So this is the same problem, right? You have a conflict avoidant president who's seen as, I don't know if you can use the word weak or, I don't know, pliable or whatever. So what's happening is, parang essentially, Gator versus Crocky. No? Awayan. Ito, di ba? Parang palakihan ng Lacoste yun Lacoste, yung mga Lacoste, lumalaki rin yung mga Lacoste na nakikita ngayon. Dati maliit lang yung Lacoste ng Rocky. Ngayon, ganyan kalaki na yung mga...
Tsaka dahil wala talagang tunay na linchpin sa gobyerno, so a lot of things...
Walang gel.
A lot of things are falling in the cracks. No? A lot of things are falling in the... Yan yung hirap kung yung executive secretary is a lifetime judge. No? Ang mga judge kasi hindi yan umaalis ng kwarto, naghihintay ng kaso.
SOP you're right.
Naghihintay sila ng kaso, naghihintay sila ng goodies, no? So hindi yan lumalabas. So pero as an executive secretary, dapat lalabas ka, dapat maglilibot ka, dapat crisis manager ka. 'Di ba? Dapat ikaw yung nag-aayos ng mga away.
Chief Operator Officer, CEO ka. Exactly.
Lalo na ngayon na wala kang mga political operators. Wala kang mga Gabi Claudio, wala kang mga Lito Banayo sa Malacanang, di ba? Wala kang mga ganyan meron kang mga PLLO na headless.
So bakit walang operator? Wait lang, wala bang job opening dyan, Ronald?
Walang strategies So meron kang mga undersecretary halimbawa ng political affairs, pero wala kang head ng political affairs. No? Ang may political sabi lang dyan is a centenarian. Si Manong Enrile. Siyempre, hindi na kaya...
Ibang usapan yan. Medyo ibang usapan. Mahabang usapan yan.
Hindi na kaya gawin yung dapat ginagawa ng isang political strategist, operator, crisis manager.
Wala na.
So nobody is manning the store. No?
Yeah.
No? At wala kang ruling party, wala kang ruling coalition, no?
Wala kang ruling
kang,
ideology,
wala
wala
kang
kang...
political affairs,
Oo, wala,
no?
oo.
Wala kang tunay na executive secretary, no? So, lahat 'yan pupunta sa presidente. Eh yung presidente mo Magellan, di
Mm.
ba? So,
Party! Ronald, party!
di ba?
Whoa!
Sino
Whoa!
gagawa niyan, no? Of course, the first lady is there. But the first lady is not a politician,
Yeah,
not a
yeah.
political organizer. She's a lawyer. Diba? So, yan yung... So, sinong gagawa niyan?
Si Ronald, Ronald, wala bang opening dyan sa'yo? Nag-apply ka ba? Sir, baka naman, di ba?
Okay na ako.
Why, Ronald?
Okay
There's
na
no...
ako sa, okay na ako sa pag-guess-guess.
Uy, rhetorical question yan. Ba't mo sinagot yan? Baka mabash tayo. No, Ronald. You think he has a trust issue after what happened with Vic Rodriguez na he cannot trust? Kasi the operator might operate him, di ba? Yun ang mangyari, di ba? If you have an operator who is smart and you think the president is
I
weak.
doubt that Vic Rodriguez is an operator.
No, I mean like pseudo whatever.
I know him nung siya ay nasa
Barangay. Pero Bel Air yan. Social yan. Bel Air yan, Ronald.
So, I wouldn't look at Vic Rodriguez as a political strategist, operator, crisis
Or whatever. Like, bakit wala siyang... I mean,
para siyang si Lagdameo, no?
ay.
Siya yung close in.
Yeah.
No? Siya yung tigabuhat ng bag ng presidente.
Errand boy. Yun
Yeah,
nga, like,
yeah.
we saw Bongo stepping up to the plate, right? He used to be dismissed as photo bomber, errand boy, and then, wow, nag-next level siya bigla, di ba? Nung within a year or two. Why are we not seeing that?
But the one running the show is Sunny Dominguez. No? At meron siyang...
Sa bagay, yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Meron siyang Vince Dizon, no? Meron siyang mga ganun, no? Underneath him. So, iba yung panahon na yon, no?
So where do you see the Chacha thing going?
I think
So you
they
think
will-
economic
I think-
amendments na yan, no? Parang ganun na yan, no? Yun yung floor
I
nila.
think they will push for it, the CONAS. Ang problema sa CONAS, when it convenes, you just need somebody there to say, oh, let's vote as one. No, let's vote as one. Tapos mag-walk out ang Senate. Pero yung matitira will proceed to change the Constitution. Tapos aakyat yan sa Supreme Court dahil may magsasampa. So the fulcrum will now be the Supreme Court. No? So kahit halimbawa yung nag-unite sila dun sa resolution of both houses number 6, nag-adjust yung House dun sa Senate version, no? At silent sila dun sa whether voting separately or voting together. Pag nag-convene na yan, no, ay pwede pa ring magkaroon ng problema. Dahil what will prevent one congressman for saying, let's vote as one? No?
Right. Correct.
Even if the Senate, halimbawa, mag-walk out, na-convene na siya as a CONAS. So, aakyat na ngayon sa Supreme Court. So, ang sinasabi ko lang, kahit nag-unite sila ngayon, nagkaroon ng truce, at sumunod sila sa presidente na ituloy na yung Chacha, no? Ituloy na yung CONAS. Hindi pa resolve yung mga fundamental issues ng voting separately or voting together.
So may mga wild cards and wild scenarios pang pwede mangyari, di ba? Which then again tells BBM should be in charge of his house. Kasi kung travel na naman siya, tapos ganyan, di ba? I mean, you should clean up the house before you go around, di ba?
Yeah, pero ang gusto kasi ng some elements in the Duterte government, in the Marcos government, ay...
Wait lang, may plano na palang may Duterte government.
A real shift to a new system.
Yeah.
No? Using the economic amendments as the
Trojan horse. Yeah.
Diba? Pero ang objective naman talaga ay baguhin yung sistema for continuity. Too much water under the bridge or too much conflict under the bridge. Pag nag-survive yung mga Duterte and win in 2028, yari yung mga Marcos.
Yeah.
So they cannot
Boomerang.
permit that to happen. No? Dahil masyado nang nagkasugatan. No? Masyado nang kahit pa sweet si Digong last Sunday sa Cebu, no? Dignified yung presidente, comfortable ako sa presidente.
Wala na, i-cross the line
walang
na.
mistake yung presidente, no? Nobody will believe that.
Yeah.
Ang malinaw, after the midterm, going to 2028,
Yari
no?
kayo,
dudurugin sila.
Yeah.
So the Chacha, with the real intention of changing the political system, no, will proceed.
Yeah, so
Will
this is
proceed.
all about shadow of 2028 pa rin, di ba? This is all about
Yes,
the
yes. It's all
Duterte
about
comeback.
2028. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
It's all about
shaping
2028.
everything. Yeah, yun yung gel.
Meron kang posibleng mangyari within the year, the ICC.
Yeah, yun yung gel talaga nila ngayon. That's the gel, like preventing
Yeah.
Duterte's comeback. I want to have just a very short episode about another bakbakan guerra potentially happening. And of course, this is serious. Let's talk a little bit about also Marcos' foreign policy. Very short lang. Kasi yung I think the PI issue and the Chacha issue was important in itself. So let's talk about that very shortly. Very brief lang ito. Okay, so sa previous episode napag-usapan natin yung bakbakan between ito na, I might say something, put myself in trouble. Let's just say factions versus factions of the administration with the 2028 elections and the Duterte potential comeback in mind. All the things are gonna go crazy. Baste runs, Digong runs, I don't know, Polong runs, Tulfos run. I mean, my goodness, it's gonna be crazy, Senate. Good luck na lang. We discussed already in the previous episode what could happen if Digong is the Senate President. Manggugulo din yan, di ba? And they could coup out yung sa baba, sa taas, lahat. But in this episode, let's talk about also the real prospect of war. You know, I just came from Washington, D.C., so we're discussing with some folks there about Philippine-U.S. alliance, the China question, Taiwan. So one of the things that I want to discuss with you today, we already had some discussion at AFPs. Ikaw, Ronald, aren't you worried now on the Taiwan issue? Baka we you know that we might go a little bit too deep with the Americans in a sense that might provoke China. I know I'm gonna argue against this statement right away. I would say, but of course, as some correctly also say, we cannot afford Taiwan to become China because then you have a giant island just to the north of Batanes, di ba?
100 kilometers.
Yeah, like 80 miles lang. I mean, it's so scary, no? So kaya we have some people like siguro si Admiral Ong, for instance, we had a discussion, sabi niya, yun yung worst case scenario niya. Probably even worse than West Philippine Sea. Kasi West Philippine Sea, maliliit na isla yung inaway, pinagawayan dito. Ito Taiwan, giant eh. Next to us, next to Luzon, right? To the centers of power, next to Ilocos, next to BBM's home province, etc. How do you feel about this Taiwan issue? Because from my understanding, the Americans want to have maximal access there, including the possibility of they can put weapon systems, fighter jets, etc. Sasabihin nila, humanitarian, charot-charot, EDCA, charot-charot. Pero in reality, maybe they're planning for really D-Day. And then now you're seeing Gibo visiting there together with Bronner, together with the Admiral, head of Philippine Navy, dun sa Mavulis. I mean, these are huge, and from my understanding, there could be balikatan exercises, some of them there in the Batanes area. There are discussions about Pentagon building port facilities. Of course, everything will be said in terms of defensive, humanitarian, but hindi naman tangang China, di ba? I mean, they're not even reading in between the lines. They're seeing things as they're happening. What is your sense on this? I mean, during Pinoy's time, didn't the Taiwan issue come into the picture? It's not like walang tensions ng panahon ng Pinoy, di ba?
Not much. Dahil ang focus kasi noon itong
West Philippine Sea talaga, yeah.
West Philippine Sea, Scarborough specifically, no? Yan yung defining moment ng Aquino administration. At nagsisimula pa lang itayo itong mga artificial islands within our EEZ. So mas nakafocus yung Pinoy government doon sa West Philippine Sea. Andun yung Taiwan, no? Pero hindi inaasahan at that time na ito ay magiging immediate concern, no? Ngayon kasi ay yan yung entry point sa Pacific eh. At from the Pacific, yan yung entry point sa South China Sea, no? Yung strait sa Japan is not too huge, not too big as yung strait in between Taiwan and the Batanes area. So very significant siya. At the most important port ng Taiwan, no, ay nandun sa part na yun eh. No, nandun sa southern part ng Taiwan, no. If there's going to be a war, yan yung unang dudurugin ng China, no. Yung port na yan. Dahil diyan babagsak yung mga support ng US, ng Australia,
Southwest of Taiwan.
Diyan babagsak sa port na yan. So they have to destroy that. And that's very close to the Philippines. At tingin ko, it's not lost in translation naman that the two EDCA camps in Isabela and Cagayan is more to guard that strait, no?
Yeah,
That
Luzon
strait.
Strait, Bashi
Yeah.
Channel. Yeah.
It's not to guard the West Philippine Sea. No, it's landlocked. Eh. No, Isabela and Cagayan are landlocked. It's more northward looking, no? Northward looking. At kaya ang problema sa ating constitution, we still denounce war as an instrument of foreign policy unless we are attacked. In that case, Taiwan, we are not being attacked, no? Paano tayo ano yung ating magiging role kung halimbawa Taiwan ang atakihin and the Americans are in Isabela and Cagayan, no? Yan yung tricky. Yan yung tricky diyan, no? I'm not sure kung ang alam ko latest wala pa masyadong infrastructure na itinatayo diyan sa dalawang EDCA camps na yan, sa Isabela at saka sa Cagayan. Pero pwedeng mag-escalate yan eh. But everybody is waiting for the November elections in the US, especially the Chinese. Pero ang alam ko, yung coastal area ng China across Taiwan ay talagang nag-i-scale up na militarily. No? I think they're preparing for war. No?
And they might do it actually preemptively. I mean, there's some discussions in DC right now that China might strike first.
Within the year, or in 5 years, or 10 years, is a different thing.
Yeah.
But the entire coast of China, no, ay talagang nag-scale up in terms of
Fujian,
build-up,
Fujian area especially, yeah.
Yes. At ang alam ko, may marching orders dyan si Xi Jinping to prepare for war. No?
The war that they can win, a modern war. Hindi lang just prepare for war na bara-bara like Putin, di ba?
Yes.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah, at iba yan sa Ukraine, no? Iba yan sa Ukraine. It could be very quick. No, dahil hindi naman kasing laki ng Ukraine ng Taiwan. No, 'di ba? At a lot of countries might be drawn diyan. Not only the Americans, the Japanese, the Australians, possibly the Koreans and the New Zealanders, no, etc. I'm not sure about ASEAN, some ASEAN countries, no.
Probably Singapore will inevitably be drawn kasi US has warships and positions also there. Ako naman, I mean, Ronald, I don't...
Singapore is also very close to China. Most of the...
Economically, yes.
Are filled with Chinese money, so they will have second thoughts.
They will try to have. They definitely always have second thoughts. But ako kasi feeling ko, tatargetin na tayo ng China. If they're gonna invade Taiwan, unahin na nila yung mga volleys, yung mga facilities para hindi magamit ng mga Amerikano. The Chinese are not gonna wait to see what we're gonna do. They're gonna just hit those bases para hindi na makarespond ang Amerika.
Yes.
So essentially, we have no choice. In a way, we have to prepare for it. That's increasingly my understanding, thanks to China's understanding of this situation. So there's no way out of it. But having said that, what is the best thing we can get out of this?
Pero iba kasi, Richard, yung attacking Taiwan na matagal na nilang kine-claim na part ng China, iba yung attacking a different country like the Philippines. No? Kahit mga US based, lalo na mga US bases yan, no? Dito, no? Bagamat wala silang extraterritoriality like Clark at saka Subic before, pero these are US bases. So that will be a major scaling up. No? Ibang usapin kung yung bakbakan is limited in Taiwan. Iba kung mag-expand siya, halimbawa sa Isabela and Cagayan with the EDCA sites. Tingin ko even China ay magtatatlong isip na gawin yon, no?
Kaya nga mahirap kasi there's no way they can just attack Taiwan without hitting American bases in Japan and also hitting potential American bases in Philippines.
Pero tingin ko na factory nila. Kaya nga, ang tingin ko strategy nila is to take over Taiwan in 3 days. No? Para hindi na makaporma all the others.
Yeah.
No? Para tulungan ang Taiwan.
Parang hindi na narinig ko kay Putin he wanted to get Kiev in 3 days. Yung mga 3 days na yan.
But Taiwan is so small. No? Ukraine is bigger than France.
But
diba?
Taiwan is an island, so it's
Yeah.
hard to invade the island. Amphibious yan eh. And remember, Taiwan is a developed country, very industrialized country, unlike Ukraine na mas mahirap pa nga sa Pilipinas eh. So I get your point, but
But China is willing to lose 1 million men. Just to unite. Tingin ko, willing sila mag-take ng casualties. No?
And this is a one-child policy country, so you're gonna affect
Yeah.
1 million families. Essentially, isa lang anak ng
And
mga families.
we have 200,000 Filipinos
Yeah.
in Taiwan, no? Definitely, no? Yung madodrawing tayo dyan, no?
Well, I think ASEAN will be involved because you also have hundreds of thousands of Indonesians, etc. So siguro the ASEAN issue will be more humanitarian. And they will need Philippines kasi i-evacuate mo sila, Batanes, Cagayan, di ba?
Yeah.
So,
But during the fog of war, mahirap na mag-distinguish ano yung humanitarian, ano yung hostile.
medyo magulo yan. Yeah,
Diba?
ang hirap nun. Yeah,
Yung
exactly. Kaya nga,
tug of war,
it's a total nightmare. Total. In
Yeah.
fact, one reason I was in Tokyo the other week, no, nung nag-usap tayo, is we were doing war games already with friends on this issue. It's a mess. It's just a mess. Ang hirap ng situation talaga. How Indonesia will respond, how Singapore will respond, how Tokyo will respond. It's a very difficult situation. But just to close on this topic, I mean, it goes back again to Philippine-US alliance, di ba? Ang akin lang naman, sana naman hindi lang tayo hanggang real estate alliance lang, yung tipong, oh, you'll have access to my base or not. You want to have a situation where the Philippines has projection capability or counter-strike capability or some sort of capability its own, di ba? Na hindi lang tayo tagabigay lang ng susi sa base.
Itong parating na mga Indian missiles, no? Have a counter-strike.
Pero sa West Philippines yan eh. Limited lang. So you have few batteries. Ilalagay mo yan sa Palawan. Ang point ko is, I mean, I think it's right that we're reaching out to India, Korea, etc. But at the end of the day, I mean, I was just in Washington, D.C. They were discussing what? An $80 billion bill for Israel and Ukraine, right? And it's not like those countries are not equipped already, you know, especially one of them is like a superpower already.
They have the most advanced military machinery right now, no? Pero
So I'm wondering, nasaan ang Pilipinas sa conversations na yan? Because until
kaya dapat ganun ang negotiations natin.
Yeah, yun nga eh. Napakahina natin mag-negotiate.
Second-hand ships. No? Pero, halimbawa, sabi, we're going to buy submarines. Yung pinag-uusapan natin, di ba?
Yeah.
How long do you train submariners?
A 10 to 15 years program yan. Yeah, it's a 10
Filipino
to 15.
submariners, ha?
Yeah.
Filipino submariners, no? How long do you train Top Gun fighter jet fighters?
Yeah.
So either you start a year ago, no?
Start earlier, yeah.
So hindi ganun kabilis yan, and war is almost imminent,
Yeah.
no? So whether we like it or not, either we don't participate in any war or we rely on others.
Yeah. But my point, yun nga, it's hard to be neutral given the geography and the US alliance. I mean, we may not be interested in Taiwan crisis, but the Taiwan crisis is interested in us, unfortunately, right? So, kaya ang hirap ng situation for us. Na, ang point ko lang, I hope we get more, kasi, look at it, until now, we're discussing all of these things with Sweden, fighter jets, missiles, India, Korea. Where's the US? I mean, nasan yung advanced US weapon systems? They're giving the best tanks to Egypt. I'm not even talking about, you know.
Australia cannot give us anything. No?
So, yun nga, like, anong ambag nito?
We bought boats from Japan. We bought fighter jets from Korea. Diba? Pero yung US parang wala pa eh. So, where is it? No? At least, India, top of the line itong kanilang mga missiles na ito. Hindi ito mga basta-basta.
Yeah, and they're willing to give us soft loans and code jointly developed, meaning give us some tech transfer capability. So ang ganda ng terms ng India and even Korea probably. We
can even negotiate drone capacity from them.
Yeah.
Cheaply.
Or Turkey.
Cheaply.
You know, even Turkey, we can work with them on drone production and all. Kaya sabi ko parang ang nakakapusan ako sa alliance natin with the US, considering how big we are to them.
Anong sabi ng mga kausap mo?
Yeah, I mean, my understanding is that, you know, they want to have the maximal access because they're preparing na for D-Day. So, kaya love na love nila si BBM. Ako naman, ang point ko is BBM is still hedging his bets kasi hindi naman syunga yung mga yan. They want to also get something out of this aside from other things we can discuss, right? So,
we need less love and more
weapons. More real weapons, exactly. Hindi pwede love lang. Kaya ako, you know, even though we make fun of BBM traveling and all, there's a lot happening. Kasi as he goes to Australia, they're gonna talk about Taiwan. As he goes to anywhere in the world, dahil sa sobrang mahalaga ng Pilipinas ngayon. But
kausap ko yung mga Australians kanina over lunch, no?
Yeah.
Ito lang may limits yung pwede nilang ibigay sa atin. Because they're also buying hardware.
Yeah, and they have yung submarine nila, ilan 100 billions.
Wala silang military industrial complex sa Australia, no?
Limitado
yun
din
yung
sila
problema
eh.
nila, no? Wala silang maitutulong sa atin. They're expecting the Americans to do that. Pero hanggang ngayon, wala pa ako masyado nakikita.
Yun nga, I mean, transport, I mean, mga ganyan, I get it. Pero hindi, I'm talking about fighter jets, multi-role vessels, I'm talking about advanced things.
Transport or backward linkages Yung, yung kan mo.
Yeah, sobrang kulang
Kahit pa
talaga.
lang defense capability
I mean, I get that we shouldn't rely on the US, we should have diversified networks, but this is your only treaty ally, right?
At ang problema, pag nanalo si Trump, lalong hindi magbibigay yun. No?
Although, baka tumawag si Imelda Marcos, di ba? They'll talk about their New York days, partying in Manhattan.
Ang malapit kay Trump, ang BFF ni Trump, si Digong.
Ay, ibang usapan yan. Nako, ibang usapan yan. Pero, di ba, Donald Trump doesn't like losers, di ba? Medyo loser na yung isang. Let's see. Salamat, Sir Ronald. Napahabang discussion natin kasi we're catching up for 2 weeks. 2 weeks, yeah, more than 1 week hindi discussion. Pero talagang dahil sa Brazilian, I think once we discuss Brazil, we lost 30 minutes there. Mahabang usapan yan eh. Thank you so much, Sir Ronald Llamas, for this fantastic sets of episodes. Hope to catch up soon on more interesting developments. And Ronald, huwag kalimutan, drip, glutathione, vitamin C.
Vitamin C daw.
Vitamin C. Talk to you soon. God bless.
Welcome back, Bigar.
Salamat po. Talk to you soon. God bless. Alright, guys. Maraming salamat. Nag-off na lahat ng mga natin. Pasensya na kung may mga problem na dyan. Mahina naman ang internet natin. Mahal-mahal naman binabayad natin. Mahina naman ang internet natin. So, thank you so much, guys. Ito, konting jet lag pa tayo. But I'm glad that madaldal yung kausap natin. Medyo sumobra yung daldal namin. But tuloy-tuloy yung conversations natin. We hope to also have another episode with other friends, including, let's see, yung SNR natin with Sonny Trillanes also. I think we have to have some follow-up discussions because some developments have taken place since last time we had a conversation. So thank you so much, guys, sa lahat ng mga sumusuporta, nagmamahal sa atin. Please don't forget to subscribe dito sa mga different channels natin. Subscribe to YouTube, Richard Haydarian Vlogs. Subscribe to Facebook, Richard From the Haydarian, tsaka TikTok natin. Please don't forget, libre lang yan. Salamat dun sa nagbigay ng mga suporta, 5 stars, and support dun sa Apple Podcast natin. Mataas na yung ratings natin sa Spotify, so I'm very thankful for that. Ang dami natin, we have hundreds of almost 5-star ratings sa Spotify. But please also don't forget to rate us dun sa Apple Podcast because I think you need a certain level of rating before lumabas siya. Para naman lumabas tayo sa mga algorithm. But last time I checked, we're still number 1 sa Pilipinas and one of the leading political podcast in the region beyond the Philippines. So thank you so much sa lahat ng mga sumusuporta sa atin. And I hope na continue natin itong mga conversations and discussions na yan. And God bless. Talk to you soon. Mabuhay ang Pilipinas.